that's one thing he does do.
Okay. So we are live. Welcome to episode 11 of Music Politics. For those who have seen the show before, you know that we're going to fool around for a little bit and give people a chance to get here and then start the official discussion sometime between 7 and 7:05. So sometimes I try to think of a random question we can just talk about.
Funk.
We can talk about funk, but you don't want to save that. You don't want to save that for the real discussion.
I mean, it's up to you, man. You even spell funk different than me.
Oh, I spelled it with an O. I spelled F-O-N-K, funky.
What?
But
you didn't spell it with a U.
Just it depends how funky it is. You gotta, if it's that funky, you gotta spell it funky.
If you gotta spell and think about it, it ain't even funky.
So since we're in the middle of a pandemic, why don't we start with when's the last time you left your house?
Well, at this point, it depends on what you believe in as versed in this pandemic. But I go to the store, I put my little mask on, I go pick up my mom, I take it to the store, and then when I know nobody's out, I get in my car, I grab my guitar and go to the beach. That's pretty much it. There's a lot more deeper to this pandemic. I listened to Mike say it. I think it was one of the last episodes, how people were in neighborhoods that they shouldn't be in neighborhoods, so it looked like something else was going on.
Yeah, that's probably when the rioting and looting started happening here in Minneapolis.
Right.
Even now, my wife says she sees random pickup trucks driving through the neighborhood. She went to pick up my stepdaughter at work at Pizza Luce. It's next to a hotel. She said in the parking lot for the hotel, there are all these cars and trucks with like no license plates on them. You know, I think didn't you say it turned out to be like a convention or something? but that was the MO that most of these infiltrators were using. They were driving through neighborhoods and stockpiling weapons and just, so she saw that. She was right to be suspicious of that.
See, when we have the right kind of guest, we can't even BS for the beginning. We somehow end up getting into the topics ahead of time. I
knew this is going to be a different kind of ride with Gabriel.
I figured that out this week if I didn't know before.
Ooh. So people are going to love us or hate us after this episode.
That's okay, because this will probably really connect with some people, and the ones that don't, that's okay. We got other weeks for them.
That's clearing room for more people who are on the train.
They got some shedding to do. That's all that means.
Yeah. Show you right.
So I'll just answer the question before we move on, and just I went and got a sandwich today. I didn't get out of my car. I went through the drive-through at the deli. But other than that, I don't think I've gone anywhere since Sunday. Sunday I had church, and we're doing church out in the parking lot so people can drive in and listen through their car windows. It's been, I thought of that because I know, Michael, I think you more than a lot of us have made a very conscious effort not to go anywhere when you don't have to. You've been very, very safe during the pandemic.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, the reality is I don't like to be bothered that much anyway. I'm just telling the truth. It was Young Rye. Young Rye ran into Paul Westerberg in his neighborhood a couple weeks ago. And he asked me, he said, well, how have things changed for you since the pandemic? And this dude is a known recluse. He rides his bike through the neighborhood. He goes up to the store, gets a couple of things, and rides his 10-speed back to the house. Ain't never nobody over there visiting. He's in the house. He's either writing or recording or just, whatever happens to hold his attention at the moment. But he was like, my life hasn't changed at all. He's like, I go out the same amount I used to go out,
Yeah. I think that
he's kind of a loner. He's kind of a stay indoors type of dude. Same here. I don't really miss outside. Plus, I make people nervous when I come out the house. You know,
Why is that?
You know?
Why is that?
Well, because I'm threatening. My stature, my color, I'm a threat.
Well, they're the ones with the problem then.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, not that I consider it. I just I don't really want to be bothered with them, and they definitely don't want to be bothered with me. So I'm cool.
I hear you.
You know.
Well, should we go ahead and get started? We're a little early, but the topic.
Hey, listen,
keep drifting there anyways.
Unless you're ready to bang, man.
So
there you go.
Okay,
bang, bang.
Let's get the introductions out of the way then. So I will first introduce my co-host, who once again has been described as the best drummer on the planet, despite the fact that I put it in almost every promotion for the show. Our viewers and guests, for some reason, don't seem to realize that he's responsible for some of the most iconic Prince drum solos of all times, which are some of the most iconic drum solos of all times. But as fans and friends and followers of the show are learning, his mind and his heart are as iconic as his musicality. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Bland.
Wow, Dan, you really every week I don't even know what to say on that. I guess I'll introduce you, Dan Spiffy Neuman.
Oh, let's hear. This should be good.
No, well, I don't really. It's the same thing every week for me, pretty much. That he hails from Madison, Wisconsin.
I do.
He is a minister of music.
I am that.
He ain't scared of black folks.
That's also true.
He survived the COVID-19. He's still here. He lived to tell about it.
That's true.
He's a dear friend, a musical ally, and just all around you. A credit to your race, Dan Spiffy Neuman.
I'll take it.
Come on, Dan.
You one of the ones that make me believe it's possible.
I'll take it.
Okay.
So before we introduce our guest real quick, and obviously you would do that, you know him better than I do. I just want to make sure that we all know in the link to the video, you can now get Music Politics merch. You can get shirts. You can get face masks for your pandemic safety.
Okay.
You can get. I'm wearing one, by the way, with the mic, with the design with Michael and myself. You can get. Come in all colors.
Yeah, all right.
I also wanted to shout out, I finally got my merch from one of our favorite guests and friends of the show. This is a Juneteenth shirt from Be a Possibility, which is Maya's site.
Maya.
And she's been on our show multiple times and is a great asset. Mm-hmm. And
absolutely.
So you'll see me wearing these in episodes future. So make sure you go down. The link is right below the video. Go down there. You can click there. You can get everything. Maybe someday, if people buy enough of it, it'll actually work its way into Michael's and my pockets. Right now, we're not making anything off the merch. But if we sell enough of it, we might get a commission. So right now, it's just to help support the show. And there's also a Music Politics Facebook group. That's the links right below it. You can join that. So before I take up any more time, Michael, why don't you introduce our guest this week?
Well, wow, I have so much I could say about Gabriel Blu, G. Illish. It's he's taught me a lot about the world and about myself. I guess I don't want to go too deep into it. He's a funky man. His heart and his spirit are in the right place. He is what's the word I'm looking for? He is music for him is like breathing. He's what's wrong, Dan? What you
I just saw that too.
I was about to text my wife and tell her to close the door because I think she's listening to us upstairs and I can hear it.
We can't hear it.
Okay, well then it's fine.
Yeah, all right. How can you tell? You got headphones on.
I got good hearing, I hope.
Oh man. Anyway, a great friend, great person. We make a lot of music together, and he is someone who has taught me that competition is a good thing. If you friends, you're supposed to build each other up, challenge one another to reach for it. Gabriel and I, together or separate, we reaching for the golden chalice. And that's all there is to it. This is a man who don't sleep. Music on his mind day and night. Fighting evil with good is his occupation. The Illish, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe one day I'll get an intro like that. Wow, that was an intro. So can I start out with a question?
What you got, man?
How did you guys meet?
Well, a long time ago, in the land of Neverland, I sent a cassette when they had cassettes back in the day. I sent it on out to Minnesota. Somebody heard and said, "Hey, fool, you want to do your music?" I said, "Uh-huh." I went on out to Minnesota. And then somebody called me and said, "You want to get up on stage with Mike and Sonny?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, that's what I came out here to do." "Well, you got to call Sonny." I call Sonny. "Hey, Sonny, listen, man, I need to get up on stage." What do you do? I go, "Well, I sing a little bit. What do you want me to do?" "Well, let me hear you sing now." I'm like, "I got to sing now?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, you're going to have to sing now first." This is the beginning. So I made it past that. I got up on stage. It was Mike and Sonny and two other people. And then I was just excited to be up there. And then I went after a few people on stage. We was trading riffs. Of course, I left Sonny alone and Mike.
Yeah.
I knew it was good for me at that point, but that's how it all started. And then out of nowhere, it's weird because I knew I was supposed to work with them before I worked with them. I don't really know how to explain it. And then all of a sudden, those thoughts, they came back, and I had found Michael on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, man, you remember me?" Of course, my hair was long, and all the native thing. He goes, "Oh yeah, I kind of remember you." So I made a good impression. That was a long time ago. For him to remember once, that's the only time we met, that once. And then I played him a few of them funky tracks that I played you, FONK funk tracks. Those are the ones I played, and he played me some of his stuff, and without even knowing it, there was the synergy. We knew we could create stuff together, and from there we started to work with people, learn about each other, good, bad, and indifferent. And we said, "Hey, man, let's start producing people." And then Sonny came along, and us three are working at producing people. But I love the vibe from them because I don't really work with a lot of people, and he's taught me a lot. I used to croon a lot. I did a lot of ghostwriting for a lot of majors, and he kind of took my voice and put it in different keys, and I'm like, wow, I can actually do that. So he's been inspirational in me growing and learning, because there's very few people like him on the planet. Very few.
So what year was that you came and you shared the stage with Michael and Sonny?
It was bonkers. I met Rosie there. Man, I want to say 98, because I remember being there. It was 1999. I remember being there for all of that. Yeah,
because Rosie came back out for that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we met, and I met her, and pretty much those three have been Sonny, Mike, and Rosie. Those have been pretty close people spiritually to me, and people who've made me who I am musically. Like the ghostwriting is, I mean, it's amazing the stuff I've learned from them three. They're unbelievable.
One of the things that I keep trying to make a theme of this show from the music standpoint is just how much of an impact Sonny has had on really the whole music industry when you look at the people that Sonny influenced. Oh, yeah. And because very few people outside of like diehard Minneapolis fans and people from Minneapolis know his name, but the people that he taught and influenced went on to be, the biggest names in the music industry.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me just interrupt you there, because I'll tell you about one instance that happened while Sonny and Tommy and I were working for Nick Jonas. We played the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and we were leaving. We were just kind of walking to the elevator, and Captain Kirk came running behind us. "Sonny, hey Sonny, man, wait a minute, I need your autograph." So Captain Kirk knew who Sonny was.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, if you're in the know, then you know.
Right.
But if you're not, then he may be, you know, a mystery to you.
And for me, I would always tell Mike this. You know, it's like people would always ask me, if you had a band, who would it be? I said, I only got 3 people, and everybody else, I love the rest of you. You're all good people, but it can't happen. So that's Sonny, Mike, and Rosie. And you know, so I love Sonny. I'm not afraid of him, but I do love him. I know he can kick behind. We go at it when we talk on the phone. I tell her, I go. What do I say? I say, listen, man, don't make me get my talk box out. Then he'll say, don't make me learn that instrument.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you know, certainly. I mean, you're the one, Dan, who told me about. Was it Jimmy Jam or Terry Lewis going off about Sonny?
Terry Lewis on a lecture he did for Red Bull Music Academy credited Sonny for being the gentleman that taught pretty much everybody of his generation, and like they would all hang around Sonny to learn bass, and he credited him as one of his teachers. And then somewhere else, I heard I wish I could remember who it was. I heard somebody else.
Me. I mean, from Prince's mouth, he was like, "Man, Sonny was. If we go over to Sonny's house, yeah." Prince said him and Andre would go over to Sonny's house, and they'd look down the basement window to see if he was home.
That's what it was.
And he'd be in his mom's basement on a mattress, no box spring. He had a pig nose amp, a Stratocaster, and a wah-wah pedal. He'd be chain smoking in his mom's basement, and they'd knock, and they'd come down. And he said, watching Sonny was like better than watching television, you know?
Tell that story about that guitar, the high school.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, Prince had borrowed many a motif from being around Sonny. He's the one who told me Sonny used to walk into class. He walked in one day, he had a powder blue Stratocaster on his back, and he had an apple hat on that matched it. He walked into high school like that. And then I thought about it, and I said, Purple Rain, that motorcycle with the telly on his back.
Bingo.
I'm like, okay, all right. You know, I mean, just to take it one step further, Prince and Sonny both started shopping at the same time, trying to get a record deal.
Yep. And
Sonny told me that the guy he had been talking to at Warner Brothers was like, you know, we really think your music's sensational, but somebody in whatever other department, we just signed somebody from there. His music kind of reminds us of yours.
I wonder why.
Prince had got signed at Warner Brothers around the same time Sonny was trying to get a record deal there also.
Yeah.
And Prince had beat him to the punch.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give Prince his credit, but if a lot of people knew the stuff that Sonny has told me, they might get upset at me, because Sonny's the catalyst to that dude's soul. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and the thing is that I mean, it's not like Prince tried to hide it. I'll give him at least credit for being open about it.
Right.
Even in Guitar Player magazine, he was like, Sonny was the biggest influence on me, you know. And they're fishing for all these big names. Like, well, we thought we heard more of a Jimi Hendrix sort of a, like, no, I never listened to Jimmy that much. Sonny was right there. Sonny, he'd go over to Sonny's house and borrow effect pedals. Sonny be asleep on his mom's couch, and Prince would come. Sonny, can I borrow your envelope pedal? Yeah, man. Sonny, can I borrow your? Prince used to borrow Sonny's effects pedal.
I got a story. So when I played with you guys, I went backstage, back in that room, and you know, Sonny said, "Yeah, man, you're pretty dope. In fact, you get to your falsetto more naturally than Prince." So I didn't know anything. So I go, "What's that mean?" He goes, "Well, I had to teach Prince to get from his natural to his falsetto." So, there's a lot of stuff he told me that we've talked to now, and you know, it's amazing.
You know what though? We're going to eventually have Sonny as a guest on this show, so I don't want to hem him up too much.
Oh yeah, we don't want to talk too much.
Well, I just leave something for him to explain on his own. But we get excited about Sonny because
Oh, he's got a lot. I promise.
He's got a lot, but he's been just so generous.
Yes.
I mean, knowledge is. Sonny will show anybody anything they want to know.
Yep.
Oh, it's easy. He really is. He's a natural teacher. His ego's not involved in it. He's secure enough in himself to share information, knowing that, I could teach you how to do it, but you're gonna end up doing it your way anyway. There's only one Sonny. Only I will sound like me. So.
It's important to me that the people that I really think are valuable in this world, I want others to realize that. And one of the great things about this show is one of those people is Michael. And this show has really given an opportunity for people beyond his normal reach to recognize what a treasure we have in Michael Bland. But the same thing is true and with a lot of our guests, honestly, as well. But the same thing is true for Sonny. It's just one of my personal missions or ministries is that I want to see the people that affected me and influenced me get their flowers while they're alive to receive them.
It's funny. I feel the same way. It was me and Mike were talking, and he quiet about who he is as a drummer. Everyone kind of takes the reins, but I was so adamant. Listen, man, we got to call one of these plugins. We got to have a Michael Bland drum sound because your sound is so. I was serious. He heard me too. I said, we put your little logo on there. Don't give them all your stuff because there are young kids out there that probably are into other things that you do besides Prince, and they want to get close to that sound. They want to feel his energy. So, sure enough, he started that, and it took us a while, but someone got back and said, yeah, we like to hear what he does. So I'm there with you. I want people to know his sound. There's very few people that can hit the snare and that timing with the whole being. Hey, he's just not playing that thing. As you guys are musicians, it's really hard to explain this. You got to kind of be in it to feel it. He's not even human when he's there. It's everything that's inside of him is coming out, and I can tell because of him. It's really hard for me to like another drummer. That's the sad part. It's really tough.
I can't say nothing on that.
There's something about timing. So, like, the first time that I had the privilege to sit in with Michael and Sonny, which, of course, was at Bunkers. That's a lot of, that's the place where it's going to be for a lot of people. Yeah. It was like with them and the people they were playing with, the timing was so locked. It's kind of like you had to try to, it almost felt like trying to jump on a moving train to try to get in to where to get in and be on time with them. Because there's a lot of great musicians in this world that are working that, their timing is good, but it's not that precise. And I wasn't used to it. And it took me, I was like, well, okay, here we are. Now I'm finally on the train, but there was a learning curve because I think it has as much to do with Michael's timing as it does with the way him and Sonny lock together. Good bass player and drummer combination is like one person, and and it's very hard to find. With Michael and Sonny's one, I know Michael and I have talked in the past about Family Man and Carlton being another one, and we had a whole list of the best bass player drummer combinations, and now those are the only two that are coming to mind.
Oh, there's plenty of them. There's Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare from Black Uhuru. Played on all those Grace Jones records and whatnot, man. Their grooves were so tight. Who else? I mean, legendary Willie Weeks and Andy Newmark played on a lot of records together. So many, and it's just there's a symbiosis. There's a thing. There's a sound I can make with Sonny that I can't make with nobody else. And I've worked with some stellar bass players. I've worked with amazing musicians, really. My entire professional life. I mean, I joined the combo when I was 17, and that was Billy Franzi, that was Doug Nelson, Steve Cherwan, Margaret was in the band, I mean, it was hot from the get-go. So, but today Sonny walked into bunkers. Yep, Al Jackson. Yeah, of course. Todd would mention that Al Jackson. Yeah. By the way, Todd, I got a song I might want you to put some Hammond on. We can't talk about it in front of Gabriel though.
What?
I'll get at you, man.
I told Michael you got the stack sound, so you know.
I might need a little hot sauce on that track, Gabe.
All right.
He plays like Booker T. I'm like, I'm interested I'm interested to hear that. I might want some of that. But and Dan, I realize you could also do it.
Let's see what Todd's got. Let's see what he's got.
I wanna. Like I'm familiar. You when I need the Holy Ghost, then I can put Spiffy Neuman on it. I don't need the Holy Ghost on this track. I need cool and easy.
Well, like I said, Todd's one of those musicians that's really good at his niche. You know, so if the track is his niche, you'll love it, and if it's not, you might not. But
it ain't nothing but 3 chords. I know he's gonna get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes them 3 chords are hard to play.
Well, it depends on what you're trying to say with them. Yeah.
There you go.
What are you trying to tell me? But I mean, Dan, as a matter of fact, I mean, I pretty much got to know Gabriel the same way I got to know you on Facebook. Like you said, we had met before. I don't really recall that. You didn't, you were probably, a nice guy and not out of pocket. You didn't insult me, or you didn't talk about my mama. So I don't really remember you from that.
Right. And I wouldn't expect you to, because it wasn't anything more than, hey man, I really enjoy you guys.
But Facebook is really where we got acquainted, And
it's funny, I was having this discussion actually with Joel earlier today. And because we were talking about how anxiety provoking social media can be, which is really true, but it's also given a whole lot of gifts. And one of the things that I struggle with is trying to balance the anxiety of constantly being connected with the world and with negativity and with everything else that's on social media with the gifts of social media, because I definitely have, a lot of things in my life, personally and professionally, that wouldn't have happened without it.
Sure. I can say that too. It really is it's a double-edged sword, social media, because you can communicate with anybody in the world. But as long as your your motives and your intentions are pure, that's great. But I mean, it's human beings. It's so easy to vibrate at that low level of just hate.
We're already in it.
Well, yeah. You expand on that, Gabriel. What you trying to say?
Well, the music that we're listening to is in a lower frequency. Most of the food we eat is in a lower frequency. Most of the clothes that are made are in the lower frequency. Most of the stuff we brush our teeth with, we wash our hair with. So we're being downgraded subconsciously all the time through free will.
Huh.
So the key is if you when you go to sleep, most people, when you go to sleep, you turn your light off. That's an artificial source of frequency. Actually, if you walked around your whole house and didn't turn any lights on and had candles, you'd be more connected to Mother Earth. Same thing when you go to the beach. If anybody goes to the beach, there's no man-made frequency. There's no lamps and lights. If you go have a picnic out in the, with your wife or with your friends, there's nothing there that's man-made. And anything that's man-made usually comes from somewhere that's negative. Although, if we were aware as people, we could take those things and use them for good. But there are more people using those things for bad than there are people of good. So therefore, the frequencies that we're living in, it's like, the negative side has more rocks on it. That's the way it is.
Well, go ahead, Dan. I see it.
Come on. The first thing that you made me think of is if you've ever what they call light pollution. Like if you ever go way out somewhere where there's no, like in the countryside where there's not a lot of human beings, you can see the stars and you can see the constellations and you can see the planets in ways that you can't when you live in the city, right? Because there's so much artificial light. And even just in terms of background sound, like when you go out somewhere again where there's not a lot of human interaction, you hear what I've heard referred to as night music, which is the crickets and the bugs and the wind and all that kind of stuff. And in the city, your backdrop is mostly man-made stuff, you know? And so that's just kind of the first thought that I had in response to what you were saying.
What you got, Mike?
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, man. I was just I just started the cat's meow, and I'm like,
hey, you know, we had
right,
me and him had to talk about his cat. Remember that?
Yeah. It's you know, I was sold so many delusions about this cat before it came to live with us.
I love Michael as a pet owner. I love it. I love Michael, the cat owner.
The cat loves you, man. Stop
right.
Me and Arnie, we got a very specific kind of relationship. You know, like I can respect life in all forms. You know, and I'm really impressed by the cat because I never really sat back as an adult and watched any animals just kind of doing what they do. That's just not really been my thing. You know, since I was a kid, I've been scared of dogs. You know, I think I got chased by maybe one or two, and that was like it. You know, it's something about me and the canine brethren don't mix. So I just, you know, leave them alone, and hopefully they leave me alone. But yeah, this cat just, I mean, their brains are in alpha mode all the time. So it's just kind of walks with a certain confidence into the room. This one in particular is like a tortoiseshell kind of combination. You know, and at first it was, well, you know, she's very talkative because, you know, tortoiseshell, you know, cats, they call it tortitude. It's tortitude, but her sister was here the other day, and that cat didn't say nothing. So it's not tortitude. It's just that Arnie's got a lot on her mind, and she's just trying to tell you all about it. Every time you do something, she's going to come sleep in our bed and then start meowing if we move too much for her. Meow, meow, meow. Sorry, Arnie. You got 3 beds in the house, but you got to sleep in ours.
She wants the warmth.
Yeah, I know that. That's listen. My whole life, that's all I'm good for is the warmth. My wife does when she gets into bed. Immediately finds the warm spot.
The warmth and the fault line.
Well.
that's my new name for him as a drummer. I had to dub him the fault line.
And I go, okay, all right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, Gabriel. You've seen enough of our show to know that a lot of the stuff that we discuss is derisive. It makes people upset, you know, and one thing, an interesting thing you told me about an observation you made. You were saying that, you know, we're not going to name no names, but just that, you know, let's just skip that part entirely and go to the fact that you basically said to me that, and I had never really characterized it this way in my mind, but that anger is rebellion. That if you're going to be a sentient being, you got to operate above that. Like you can't get consumed in these worldly affairs to the point where you don't see clearly.
Yeah, it creates the separation and keeps it there.
Because yeah, I'm as guilty of it as anybody.
Oh yeah, we all are.
I've been mad and didn't care who knew it. And I mean, can you expand when you say anger? Anger is rebellion. I really wanted to get more into that.
Anger is again, there's this one power that we all draw from, and negative, whatever you want to call negative, whatever you want to call positive, it draws from the same thing. They use it for different things through free will and what you're listening to, what type of frequencies are happening. Anger is a form of, as I was talking to Dan, of not having self-love. And I don't mean self-love of self. I mean enough self-love that you have so much power in your being that energy will not affect your force field. And therefore, that will affect the next person. You know, it's like you walk down the street. Some people are very, excuse me, but are weak that way. If they get bumped into, they get angry. Maybe they don't take it out on that person. They go to work, someone asks them too many questions, and they've already had that built up into them. And then they go, "What? What do you want?" And then that person goes, "Damn, why'd you jump at me?" That person carries that to the next thing. Maybe they carry it to lunch. And this frequency is passed around so much that half of the things that we say, because we're not aware of how powerful language is through frequency, that we omit this thing in a very subconscious way where it kind of creeps around in the dark. And you really don't see it coming until it's too late. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know how, I don't want to say religion, but, according to what you believe in, anger is the opposite of love, and it's coming from somewhere where you don't have any control in your emotions and your personality, that you are being used to pass this on to everybody else. So if we really cared about the planet and people, we would first look at ourselves and say, how do I stop myself? I mean, I have the right to be angry, but I don't have the right to use it on the next person. Maybe instead of being angry, I have a different way that I can show this anger. Mahatma Gandhi showed it. We can take Rosa Parks. So I don't know how people want to look at this. We take Mahatma Gandhi, we take John F. Kennedy, we can take Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King, all men. That's the kick that I'm not sure what that person's saying.
She's saying like when angry people go home and they kick the cat.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's take those 5 men. All of them, men as a whole on this planet, we're removed from the source. The real source on this planet is that women are connected to the actual thing that creates. So my proof will be each man did something physically that harmed them. One had to march. Something bad happened, which we know what happened. One went to look at Mecca and found out he was being lied to. One decided to starve himself and almost lost his life. And the other one started talking about things he shouldn't have. And he did it in a place that whatever you believe in this planet was the first place that this negativity was born into society. We'll take Rosa Parks. One woman didn't have a gun, didn't have people watching her. She didn't have a village behind her. She got on a bus and she pretty much said, "I'm not sitting in the back." And that was it. And that was done out of love. She didn't need anything to help her that would pretty much feed into evil's way of striking back. Because she's already deemed, oh, it's a woman, she's weak. No, they're not. They're actually the most powerful thing on the planet. And so she got it done. And that's the difference between anger and love.
You got something, Michael?
No, go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. So from your perspective, is there such a thing as good anger or using anger for good?
There's this thing as constructive anger, meaning that you're looking for change in your person. If that person doesn't see it, you must pick it up through self-love. Well, a good example, me and Mike had a situation. We didn't know each other, and we didn't know each other musically enough to know that I joke around quite a bit. And that joking rang for him in a way that was negative. I didn't know. So he was like, "Yep, I'm cutting you off, dude. You got to go." So I had to think about it. I'm like, okay, so he's angry, but I don't really know what he's angry at. Do I have enough self-love to figure out how to rise above? And sure enough, I prayed and thought about it, and here we are today, and we're stronger because of it. So there is a healthy part of it, but it takes the whole world to figure it out, not just one. What if I let Mike sit in that thought? He would have believed that. But it was my job, because through self-love and the type of good anger that you talk about is to show him, hey, here it is. This is the real way. Now it goes back to him. If he's enough of a person inside of himself, he will see the truth of that, and he'll work on that. And it's vice versa. It's like being in a band, trading. Hey, it's your turn to do your little runs and stuff. The next person goes. You all got to work together. It's really the same. There's nothing on this planet that doesn't. We separate everything. and it's all really together. But it's, God wants you to see things as a whole. The other thing wants to separate things, so it makes things look like it's very difficult. So we begin to think about which way is right and wrong, and your thoughts are the only place that anything negative can get to your free will. It's like a radio station. You switch it enough, you may have switched it real fast. Oh, what's that song I heard? Oh, I don't like that music, but you did hear it, and that's enough to get that frequency. As opposed to saying, I'm going to allow all of this stuff to pass through me as a person, and only listen to one thing. And that's what that's really the real test, is to take what God gives you and focus on it. Because people, I don't know, I guess they think it's easy to be a Christian or to be no, that's harder than to do the opposite. It's easy to set a house on fire. It's not easy to tell your friend, hey, you love them and they don't like you right now because of something you did, and you got to figure that out so that evil does not work through there and stop you two or you 3, 4, 5, and 6 from whatever the gift is that thing knows that exists before you guys met.
Wow. See, as you were saying that, I thought about the look on that police officer's face while he had his knee on George Floyd's neck. It was like he was devoid.
He wasn't there.
Like, that was something, I mean, evil.
Oh, 100%. Huh? Say that again. I cut you off.
I said that was something evil that I was looking at.
Right.
Like it looked like he was so comfortable.
Right.
Like supernaturally comfortable with taking a person's life right in front of cameras and everything.
Right.
I wondered, how can you be so calm and collected in that moment? And another conversation we had where you were saying it's not even about race. It's the oldest story ever told, which is good versus evil.
Bingo.
It's beyond that. It's beyond these factions that have been put in place, these social constructs.
That's the disguise.
And I don't know how I feel about making this revelation so late in my thought process. And maybe it isn't even a matter of my brain at all. But that, I mean, racism as a thing is a sham.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a social construct meant to divide people, meant to get people focused on.
Who was it? I think it was maybe Sade. One of our guests said that the concept of race in terms of white and black came after African American slavery in the U.S. It was basically devised as a way to justify the treatment of blacks as slaves and the indigenous people and everything else. Like the word white for human beings didn't exist. And she gave the year. I don't remember what the year was, but it was after.
That's what Sade's bad.
Yeah, she's a freaking beast.
So think of this. If that's true, what came first then? If you're aware of that, what came first?
Which one of us are you asking?
Dan.
Oh.
So what came first in terms of what?
Of race before racism, what was first?
I mean, I think the answer you're looking for is evil, but
that's it, man. It's really, you could see, here's the thing. We're all busy. People are busy thinking, and that's where you are allowed to be attacked. If I did a clinic once, and I walked in, and excuse me, I won't say the word, but I told everybody that they could F themselves. They didn't know who I was. So they all looked at me, and I said, hey, I'm dyslexic. I could probably never come to this school. I need you to tell me, what happened. Well, you said a bad word. I'm like, that's not what happened. That's what I said. Tell me what happened. And they just looked at each other. These are all some serious people that went to Harvard. I am at Harvard, dyslexic dude, teaching about tone and vibration. So I said, what happened is I built this energy up in my body. It came out of my mouth. You heard the words. You're thinking about the word instead of paying attention to the intention of my energy. I can say it to you without actually saying the words. So someone says, well, that's BS. So, you can look at someone and kind of let them know you don't like them. I said, it's the same thing. You tell someone you love them, you can say it without saying the word. So once we understand that thought is a weakness and it's not it's directly connected to spirit. Once you get that first feeling that you have, like you do when someone tells you they love you, if someone doesn't like you, you won't even think about the thoughts because that's where God lives in that frequency. It's so hard to explain. I think me and you had a talk about I won't bring up anybody, but we was talking about the Washington Redskins, and I was trying to explain to you that a redskin is the scalp of the men, women, and children. Uh, and the Europeans came over here, and there was so many of us. They want to collect all the bodies, so we'll just collect all the scalp. Different tribes that didn't like each other, they were intimidated to collect the scalps. Then the Europeans would celebrate those days, and that would be their Thanksgiving. And then sooner or later, Lincoln came and made it a holiday. So in the native culture, those Black Hills, those four people, those are the biggest assassins to native culture in our history. Washington, Abraham Lincoln. So it's every racism, like you said, all of these things are designed to get us to think. Like when you play in your instrument at some point, you're done thinking. That's when you're connected to spirit. Whatever you are when you play your instrument, that's the person you need to be at all times because you're powerful then. You don't have to think. It's the same thing with me and Mike. I said, Mike, when we start to write and we start to do things, and you're trying to shift over whatever. I said, you are so complete as a drummer that the self love and the power that's running through you can be felt anywhere. It doesn't mean that you play powerful. It means your connection with self through self love is so powerful that you're a nucleus. Once you take that and put it into every part of your life, you won't even have to ask yourself any questions. They'll be answered for you. That's a fact.
We're working on right now. Yeah.
It's hard to understand because I've learned this at a young age, and I've done a lot of talks and a lot of clinics, and I firmly believe that thinking is a handicap for us because it has nothing to do with spirit. It's the only part of us. There's free will in the middle, and it's your free will is always being beaten on, jabbed left and right. Some people ask, "Hey, why did that person do that?" I mean, well, then it depends on what you believe. Do you believe that he actually thought what he did, or did he get the feeling of that? And because of whatever he's learned in life, it was able to control him in some way to make it happen. That's why he's talking about that dude's face. People say, I don't want to look at it. True, you don't want to look at it. Look at his face. I don't even see him struggling to hurt this dude. If I was there, they would have had to kill me. I couldn't have watched that. That would have been it for me. I'd have had to leave this planet. But if you watch him, Mike is right. There's something, he's void of something. And he's on that dude like it's effortless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, from your perspective, what does it take for a human being to get to that place where they don't value the life of another human being?
What does it take for a person to do that to another person?
Just in general. I mean, that's a great example, but in general, because I mean, I would like to think that I look at myself and be like, I could never be in that scenario, but apparently there's a button that you can push to engage that type of evil in almost any human being.
For a reason. Nothing goes unchecked. That's it. See, you're thinking about what you're seeing instead of realizing that the sad part of this is we can't know everything. And all of these things have to happen for change. And do I want it to happen to anybody? No, I don't even want it to happen to somebody that's racist. But if you believe in positive and negative, God or Satan, whatever you want to call it, that these things are by design. Like there's nothing you can do about it. The only way to change this is for everybody to understand self-love in their own house, that there's no way for evil to enter somebody's mind. If that's one way, the other way, if we believe in the Bible and what we see, then all of this stuff is by design. Will people get hurt? Will people be like you're breathing right now? Like I can feel what's coming from you. All of these things are going to happen. We're the pawns in the middle of whatever this is. So the best we can do is Dan can make it right for what he knows. Mike can make it right for what he knows. Gabriel can make it right for what I know. But are we headed somewhere that things like this will happen? As things were happening, I would call Mike a week ahead and say something else is going to happen. It's by design. It's not even going to stop. And so, does it make it any better? No, it doesn't. So the real question there that we can all ask that we don't know, what do you do about that? Do you go to God and say, hey, look, we've had enough of people being hurt and stuff. We don't care about revelations. Let's just let the thing end now. Or do we have to go through whatever it is that we don't know as humans, that only you know, and realize this is part of it for change?
Yeah, well, I mean, change requires sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. It's the same thing in music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same thing. If I see Mike and Sonny, some people might be afraid to get up on stage. I am not afraid of nobody. It's not because I'm cocky. It's because I love what they do, and I share that same love. And love is so powerful that it can get you to be at one with everything. If everybody could do what people do on stage, or when a mother loves her children, take care of her children, everything that you're feeling right now would be answered, Dan. But unfortunately, there's another power at work. The best thing we can do is the show that you guys have. This is pretty much it. And we still have to realize at the end of the day, everybody has free will, and whatever frequency is running through their body, they will decipher for them what they're going to do. And it doesn't even stop there. Like, you just can't hear this stuff and think that you're just going to be happy tomorrow. Maybe something won't like it. Maybe something will say, oh, you want to listen to all this uplifting and changing the world? Well, let me make tomorrow uneasy for you. You know, you've been through it. You had the virus, right? And you got out of there. You are the perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're 36 years old, never had a health problem in your life.
There you go.
There is no rational reason you should have been on a ventilator for 11 days in an induced coma. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So that
it's beyond just. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. So the validation there is what you're asking me lives in those 11 moments in the minute that you had that happen. He just said there's no reason for it. You're telling me about something that there's also no reason for. It's this type of self-love is the calming, to calm yourself to a certain point where that you have to let everything pass through you and understand that this is all by design. There's a meaning for it, and I will do my part to live on the good side. I'll do the positive stuff.
Can I ask you a question that's kind of shifting the topics a little, but I'm very curious.
All right. I like hot sauce, though.
So until we started talking, so what I knew about you ahead of time is I know that you're Apache, and I know that you grew up on a reservation, and then you told me that you were actually in training to be a medicine man. I didn't know that you were also Christian. And I'm very curious about the intersection of indigenous people and growing up on a reservation and Christianity.
Okay.
Because you quoted the Bible several times, and I wasn't expecting that. It caught me a little off guard. I mean, you know, I'm Christian. I'm ordained. I minister, but I don't necessarily. I'm not one of those people that expects everybody to believe what I believe or share my religion.
Right.
And so that caught me a little bit off guard. I'd love to hear the history of your relationship with Christianity, as well as your relationship with God by any name.
All right. Well, if it was forced on us, most tribes, it was forced on. We like to have our own beliefs, and we've got our own ways to look at the Great Spirit and Mother Earth. There's some natives that believe through all this evil that God gave us Christianity, and that was a sacrifice. There are some natives, most, that think that whole thing is evil. Regardless of what you think, it's all the same. So we teach, Mother Earth, respect the earth. People teach respect people. It's all the same thing. Um, there are a lot of native people that follow Christianity, and there's a lot of people that don't. But the thing there that is the same is how you treat people. It's how you treat people, even though you're not following the same thing. The name God, I don't even know if that's a real name. I don't even know if somebody gave that to that thing. All I know is that all the books that were in the Bible are not there. And we talked about something earlier that I was studying. I've actually seen negative in front of me. I've heard things that aren't even in the Bible. So there's a lot of stuff that's been taken out. My walk is to be the best person I can be first, and through that, I will be a good Christian. I won't have to think about being a Christian if I'm a good person, if I have self-love. Same thing if I'm on stage with Mike and Sonny, I don't have to tell them anything. And what I'm saying again is everything is tied together. If you have a glass of water and you shouting obscenities to it, you can go to MIT or some science place, hook that thing up, and you will see all of the crystals have turned black. People believe, I did a clinic where I had a plant, and a lady was telling me she was a vegan, which is okay. I've learned that is also, there's a spot in there where Satan can talk to your mind. But I said, I asked her why she was a vegan. She said, well, really, because I'm not into killing animals. And I said, so because the plant doesn't bleed red, it's not alive? She heard me. And I said, I'm going to prove it. I hooked the plant up to the little electrodes and stuff. I got some scissors. I got close, and they all moved. They jumped, and it was the equivalent to a human scream. So she asked me, what do I do then? I said, therein lies your belief of self-love and how you follow God. None of this stuff's easy. So because there are so many churches and so many religions and so many of these different things, I want to be the best person that I can and realize that I don't want to have self-love for myself in a way where it's an ego thing. I want to have it where it's a spiritual thing, and I will allow God to give me the right message that way. I don't go to church. I did go to church. There's too many things wrong in each church that I've been to. I mean, it's kind of like if God gave us Christianity dressed, it was a boy, dressed it up in clothes, and then it comes back every day with different clothes on. I'm sure God wouldn't want that. So most indigenous people, we don't follow man-made things. If that's the best way I can answer that. But I always have to go a different route to try to bring more to the question.
I guess my follow-up question is there anything I would love to be able to bring something from native or indigenous teachings and correlate it with my Christian teachings and be able to bring that next time I'm in a position to teach. Say that again?
No, go ahead.
So is there anything that you were taught or that you teach that is adjacent to Christianity but not necessarily a part of it that I could bring in? I'm assuming the concept of self-love that you've been has been one of your primary focuses so far is definitely something. But is that something that came specifically from those teaching, or is that something?
Oh yeah. No, well, I learned it myself because I have free will. I had to go through lessons. You're thinking that you have to grab something from that culture when all you have to do is believe in what you believe, and therefore you are grabbing from that culture. I mean, I may say I love you in Apache. You say it in English. It's still the same thing. It creates the same feeling. So you really don't need anything from it. This is my point of, it's the same thing in music. If you're at a level that you're connected to all things, all you got to do is the thought of saying, hey, I'm not really good at jazz, but I respect it enough and know that I can become a part of it. It's the same thing as saying I'm removed from it because I don't do it, but the love of it keeps me in line with it. It's the same thing. Hey, Dan does this at this church. What can I grab from here? It's the same message. It's the same exact, hey, in your church, hey, there's 10 commandments. We have the same things. They just worded different. They're the same exact things. It's the negative part that wants us to think of separation. So I'll give you a good example. So I'm dyslexic. If I play that piano, I play it backwards, people think it's crazy. To me, it looks normal. So, and most people will say to you, Dan, wow, you're amazing. Most people look at Mike, oh my goodness, you're amazing. Why? Like this gift you can have. So something before we touched it told you that this was difficult. So therein is the same question that you asked, like there's something trying to separate us from everything. So this entity that was with God was all this music. Came down or came up, I don't know how that part goes, and said, what can I do to keep people away from the glory of God? Well, I can have people look at Dan's organ playing and be amazed of it, so that somewhere in them, while they're loving it, that they'll think that they can't do it. And that's not self-love. Same thing with Mike. Well, if I look at Mike long enough, oh man, I don't think I can do that. Great. Right there, before you even tried it, Satan has given you a negative thought. It doesn't mean that you'll ever be able to do it, but you can share in it. It's the same thing with what you practice and we practice. We're sharing in the same thing. This is powerful. This is how evil separate. It's only in your head and your free will can you be touched. Your spirit can never be touched. It can only get there through your free will. And thought is key.
Let me just interject. I was watching that Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and there was a point. I don't remember which episode it was, but it was they were all trying to like make these real difficult shots. And one of the I don't remember who it was talking to Michael Jordan was like, man, wouldn't you be nervous to take that shot like in a game? And he said, how can I get nervous about a shot I haven't even taken yet? Like he really, in that one moment, I recognized what it really means to be a master. Like the fact that he is going through the experience with the confidence that his energy is going to work in the way that he's trained it to work. It's just a different position on the court for him. It's not. He doesn't look at it in terms of being technically more difficult. It's strictly a matter of his confidence and what he has worked for within him that makes him not fear any situation that's coming his direction because he's mastered the court. He's not worried about will I or won't I. He's only in touch with his mission at that moment, which is to get the ball in. And who got the ball in like Michael Jordan? Nobody, only him. You know, and I think that's when I began to understand that you can't. Well, first off, a while back I started saying anything is possible. Like I'd contemplate something, someone would tell me, and I go, okay, that's, I'm beginning to see and frame possibility in a different way in my own life, because once you realize that the main barrier between success and you is you. Like it's only a matter of how far you're willing to dig within yourself. You are your best resource. You have the same potential anybody else has. Now, how you work to refine your expression, I mean, I guess whether it be artistically or athletically, all of that is a matter of being selfish, doing the work on self. We've been taught that selfish as a word is a bad thing. But really, to me, if I look at it like being selfish, being focused on the ways in which my life is lacking, and start to remove, it's basically what you were saying. Separation is the real obstacle.
That's key.
But the hardest thing I've had to do, because my mind is so analytical, is how do I get quiet enough here to, do you understand what I'm saying?
How to get
quiet your mind
to be able to hear it, to hear spirit. And that's the problem we all make. It's our free will is like a radio station, and it picks up everything. And according to what you're listening to, you will do.
Yeah, every thought in your head is not yours. I've had crazy. A friend of mine, Icky James, he went on. Icky James went on some kind of and you will meet Icky James one day, Gabriel. Y'all
boy,
because he's also got native blood in him.
Oh,
you
cool.
guys would be funny, man.
That's a combination that I either want a front row seat to or want to be in, or I'm glad that I'd be in another state, because Icky James and Gabe is going to be something else.
Can we get on stage? Can we get on stage?
He's not like a performer.
Oh man, okay.
He's just who you call when you need
backup.
Yeah, he's backup. Like, I don't call him unless it's really like, hey, listen, man. One time I thought somebody broke in my house. He was the first call I made. ADT was the second.
Yeah, I used to be that way.
It was Icky James, and he came round the way with one of them flashlights, one of them cop flashlights that takes like 5-6 D batteries. Like but he's there to use it to go straight across somebody's head.
Oh yeah, we're not afraid. We ain't afraid of nobody.
He probably had a firearm, and he had that flashlight, and that was all he took with it. Oh man, now see, I lost my perspective on the situation. Icky James.
Separation. We were talking about separation.
Yeah, we were talking about that. It'll come back.
It'll come back.
It'll come if it's meant to come back.
No, I think Dan's looking.
Talking about you're talking about. Somehow I segued into you and him talking. But sorry, go ahead. You were about to say.
No, that's right. I think Dan's looking for like I don't know if I don't want to be ignorant. You're looking for this movie stuff where they say, "Oh, the sun and the moon is separate," and we've got different things like that. It's pretty much the same thing that everybody else wants. We all want the same thing. Maybe indigenous people have a few different ways to look at spirituality, and maybe Christians have one way. Maybe the monks have a few ways. Maybe the Shaolin have a couple ways. But it's all the same thing. And the only way to separate us is through thought. What we think we believe is not really what we believe until you have enough self-love through God to actually listen. And for musicians, if you ain't listening on stage, I will find you. I'll find the wrong spot. And I don't even have, I know him and Sonny have perfect pitch, but I don't have that. But my soul is so connected to what's happening. My head without me will take me to where it's wrong. People have tested me on stage. Just one note. I had a bass player hit the wrong note. He wanted to see if I was full of it. He was on my left, and I looked over, and he looked at me. He goes, "Well, you heard that just one note with everything else going on?" I said, "My spirit heard it. I'm not really sure how to tell you anything else."
Yeah, you're funny because Wayne McFarland, I remember he said that to somebody. Somebody was like, "Hey, how'd I do on that last set?" And Wayne said, "You must have played all right because I didn't hear you." He said, "You must have played what you were supposed to because I didn't hear you." And I didn't understand that statement at the moment.
You said that to me before, so
yeah. I think I probably did say that to you because this was back like in the 90s.
Yeah,
I was doing a gig with Wayne, and somebody, I don't remember who it was. Hey, did I play that one all right? He said, "Yeah, you must have, because I didn't hear you." I mean, he's expecting people right, and when you start messing with that, then he's gonna have he's gonna hear you. And that's, I feel it's the same way for me. It's like I will presume you're gonna do the right thing until you start to not. Like other than that, I'm focused on doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm on my being the piece of the puzzle that I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't want any attention taken away, any of my attention taken away from what I'm trying to do. And the only way that does happen is when people come either unprepared or sometimes it's just a matter of where they've been at, because you taste like whatever you've been marinated in, and not everybody has the right kind of counsel when they're growing up. Like the right kind of mentorship, like all of that. Like we learn in different ways and so on and so forth. And so I get that it's not always directly that person's fault, but by the time they get to me, if there's a correction needs to be made, I'm the one to make it.
Right. And that's the key. Even though it's not that person's fault, there's separation created that we have to deal with before we can get to being one.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you need to know indigenous stuff, what's going on with us, I mean, I can probably tell you that, but I pretty much, anything that you're doing that's coming from your heart and love is the same thing we talk about.
Well, here's the thing, and Dan, I don't mean to put you on Front Street,
Bring it on.
No. I remember you saying, I think it might have been when we were in the studio working on his music. Like you experience, you feel some type of way when you put the guitar in your hands and get in front of that and in the ISO booth and start playing. Like you I don't know if it's exactly what you said, but I don't know what kind of nervousness or vibration was happening, because that day you were like two people. You like you were, when you were just sitting talking with me and Sonny and just doing what you're doing, everything was cool. We were just chilling. We're just folks.
You remember what song it was?
But when you stepped in the booth, I think it might have been the guitar part on Highway Revival.
There you go. Like
the acoustic part. I remember we were tracking that, and just like I could sense that you said something, but I could tell that situation was a battle for you. Like, say something.
Okay, I was waiting for you to finish.
I'm just saying it. I mean, my point is, I don't know what that is. What kind of transformation was happening with you back and forth?
So for me, at least, and I'm just going to speak from a purely natural perspective, and Gabriel can analyze it from a spiritual perspective. I look at things from a very differently based on tiers when I'm doing music. Like if I'm the MD, then I'm in a certain mindset. And if I'm working with people that I consider equals, I'm in a different mindset. And then when I'm in a situation where I'm the new guy, or I'm the guy that's learning, or I'm then I'm in a different mindset. And with you, and especially Sonny, it's a lot of times it's that third thing, because you guys are people that I looked up to for years. So I'm very much like what do you want me to do, sir? Yes, sir. When I actually get the instrument in my hand, versus like you and I have talked about the potential of doing a gig when things reopen where I would be the MD, and you'll see a very different side of me as a musician if that's the case, because I'm very like the type of training that I got in the music industry was to be very, very respectful of those relationships and of that hierarchy in terms of, that said, it is a goal of mine to be as comfortable playing around you and Sonny as I am, talking to you guys, or as I am playing around musicians that have always been my peers.
Okay, but
I know how to answer that.
Okay, well, let me.
You first.
No. I got a feeling you may say the same thing I'm about to. Go ahead.
Okay, so you separate. Oh, let me put this down. Okay, so you compartmentalize and you separate your gift, which is human, but you also have another part of you that is based off awareness, your spirit. Your spirit has nothing to do with your mind. So therefore, all things should be the same. You should be able to adapt to any situation. Like if somebody put me up with Mike and Sonny, I wouldn't have no problem. I wouldn't look at them as they were better or beneath me. They would be even. And what happens then is your creativity and your personality comes out more, and they'll forget what you're doing because you'll do something new and they'll smile about it and laugh, and it's good. So that my validation for that, there was a guy that you guys had. He played the steel pedal.
Oh, you talking about Joe Savage? Yeah, Joe don't care who's in the room.
No one told what Joe what to do. I was watching. I laughed. Sonny laughed. Mike laughed, and I watched everybody else. Like, what are they laughing at? I said, listen, if it wasn't good, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. This dude was just a part of what he was doing. So, like all of us, there's a part. I'm still ascending to another level of my musicianship. So look at that as part of your musicianship. Like once you conquer that, you won't even have to think about it anymore. You'll be doing stuff that they don't know you can do, and they'll be like, oh my goodness. Dan just went somewhere else. And anything you do at that point will work because it's not coming from thought. Thought is the only thing that can remove you from your pure gift. It's like if you tell a person can tell when you really love them or not. You say, I love you, and someone just gives you that look, they start crying like, damn, that was powerful. That's the one native thing I can give you. Everything is connected. Where everything is connected. The web. So we say there's a web. What if you break a spoke in the web? Everything falls apart. We are all connected. We're all connected. So I believe for you, it's just you're looking at Mike and saying, oh, these are people I looked up to. Okay, I look up to them so much that I'm going to let them know I'm just as good as they are, which I believe you are because they wouldn't mess with you. I'm going to let them know I'm going to take how I feel about them, put it into my music, and bring it somewhere that they didn't expect without me thinking about it. That's just removing your whole mind from it. Winfred Marsalis said it best. He said, "Hey, I was going to Berkeley. I'm like, bro, there's no way I can learn sheet music. I can't do it. I've already played 7 instruments. I don't think I can do this." He goes, "You don't need it anyways." I go, "Why?" Well, once you're looking at that sheet music, if you look at that note, you're removed from the thing that you're playing. You're removed from it. You don't need it. I remember I seen a video of Thelonious Monk. Somebody played the wrong note in his song, and the engineer wanted to stop, and he said, "What'd you stop for?" "Well, that was the wrong note." "Well, if that was the note, that's what's supposed to be there." Just be whatever it is that you feel in your soul without your mind thinking about it, because only evil will keep you in separation. And we're all learning it, man. I'm not saying you're separate. I have my parts where I'm trying to become whole still. Everybody does. Nobody is separate. And that's the other battle that happens is when people hear these type of things, not you per se, people get defensive. And then, I have to remember I'm speaking from love. If they can't handle that, there's something they need to work on.
I hear all that. I guess the place I was headed to is that, I mean, you've hung around me and Sonny. I mean, would you consider us to be arrogant?
No, not at all.
I mean, would you consider us to be self-centered or particularly judgmental?
Not in any sort of negative way, no.
Okay. I mean, what I'm saying is that only you can sound like Dan Spiffy Neuman.
Oh, yes.
Everybody has something to contribute. And I'm not saying, I understand your position because I've been there. But the day I had to reckon with the fact that Tony Williams was at Bunkers watching me play, it's like I got 2 options. I can either fall apart,
or be what he came to see,
or show him that there's other greatness in the world.
Oh yeah.
So I'm imploring to you, Dan, that you one of us. We chose to let you through a door that we keep closed all day, every day. You got no reason to feel inferior.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't think it. I mean, that may be.
I'm not saying these are the things that you necessarily feel or think. I'm just saying in general.
I think a part of it comes from the training that I had when I first started doing session work, which was when you're, when you're not the guy, you treat people a certain way and you extend a certain reverence. And I'm very, again, I definitely am put on a different persona when I am the guy that's just there to do the thing versus when I'm the MD and in between.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that's the only thing. I think some of what you're saying is true too, because I had a lot of nerves as a musician getting to know you, which and I still have some when it comes to Sonny. And
more, Sonny's life experience has been different than mine.
You know,
together, me and Sonny are a realized thing, but to take Sonny on his own, it's weird. It's almost like I'm his interpreter.
Yeah, it's
well,
not.
You can break that though. That can be broken, Dan. It's not even of spirit. You wouldn't be doing music with those two if you at that point when they say, hey man, we got this project we want you to work on, in your spirit you should say, I'm at that level, let me give them something that they've never heard before, even through the parts that they want me to play, because that's who they're looking for. They're not looking for me to play these parts, they're looking for me to be me. So it's the same thing when you're one-on-one with Sonny. It's just a person. Hey, how are you? I'm Dan. Hey, I'm Sonny. Shake hands, laugh, do whatever y'all do. So
yeah,
it's a barrier, and I'm saying, like, in this idea of self-love, there are barriers that are real tiny and minuscule, like the one we're talking about. Let's say, I've said this before, let's say your thought that you're having now, let's say that your whole personality is a 100-mile dam, and all the negativity is on one side, you're holding it in because you're who you are. But there's one spot that has just a little bit of that water coming through, and nobody sees it. But through that one thing that has nothing to do with anything that's really substantial, it creates other areas. And so, like, when people, that's a part of self-love, when people can stop all those boundaries, realize this is just Sonny. Shoot, I'm going to talk to Sonny the way I talk to Mike. I'm going to talk to Mike the way I talk to everybody else. Like, Mike, man, don't let me catch you, because I have a song for you. I'm coming to get you. Or, Sonny, man, yeah, I like your bass playing, but come on, man, don't let me get my talk box. And he appreciates that. He can hear spiritually, hey, we've just laughed and we've just connected. They understand what I'm saying. And you're right there.
And I'm saying, stay in touch with your mastery, Dan.
Oh yeah.
No matter who's in the room. And that's, I mean, I understand giving a certain amount of respect to whoever it is you might be working for that day. But I mean, I'm always just trying to do what I can to make the music happen. It don't matter who it is, whether I know them, whether they're famous or not. It's if you didn't have the gift, you wouldn't be in the room. Is all I'm saying, man, is that don't diminish yourself in the presence of others you think are great. Because if you're present, then there's greatness in you also.
It made me think of a real interesting example, and I'm just kind of sharing this for the discussion more than anything. So I did a session maybe a year ago with an artist that I have worked with for probably decades now at this point, and have been the MD for a couple sessions and a couple tours. And this particular session, they hired a different MD, but then hired me to come and play guitar because the guitar player that MD chose wasn't giving them what they wanted. Uh-huh. So it put me in a real interesting position, because on the one hand, I'm not the MD. I have to listen to what the MD is asking for. On the other hand, I have the artist saying, I didn't like that MD's choices as far as guitar, so I'm bringing you in to make your choices. Uh-huh. It was a real interesting paradigm. And it was a good learning experience for me, because I had to try to balance my own identity as a musician, which is what the artist brought me in for, versus the reverence and respect that the MD deserved.
Sure.
And it was a fine line to walk. It was a week-long session. It was a fine line to walk all week. But it was a good learning experience for me in terms of trying to get my point across with confidence without disrespecting the hierarchy of,
And you did that all inside you while you were there, right?
Of course.
Okay, there it is. There it is. The same.
Yeah.
With Mike, we're working on some things, and I'm trying to give him a different approach to writing. He asked me a few questions, and that's it. He understands that in him is the answer. So he'll say, how are we getting from here to here? And now he got a song that's crazy. This dude is it self-love is so powerful that God will put you in any place, like yea that we walk through the valley of all of that. Like when Mike will tell me, hey, I feel like I got this from this area. I go, yeah, you can walk through that valley because nothing can touch you now. You can go in and out of any room that you want to because you're becoming what you are when you play the drums. Same thing for you. It's just a matter of thought. I used to coach football to in a black neighborhood, and all these little dudes didn't even know who Jimi Hendrix was, and all they did was play me rap stuff, which is cool. So hey, do you guys listen to rock at all? Nah, man, that's for white people. I'm really. Oh, okay. So got on the phone. I said, well, tell me who this dude is. Oh, uh, I don't know who that is. Oh, that's Jimi Hendrix. And for your information, a lot of white people that play rock are doing his thing. Now they all gathered around me. So I said, remember that your people created some of this. And the longer you tell yourself you can't do things, you won't do them. I don't know. There was a black president. So at some point, his parents told him he could be whatever he wanted. If we had more people doing that, we'd have a different world. But unfortunately, like we go back, there's a design to what's happening, and it's going to keep happening. And it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, and I hate to say it, but black people are as guilty, if not more, in some instances, of limiting their scope of what's possible.
Yeah, we all
I understand when you live in poverty in the ghetto, all you see is the ghetto.
Yeah,
But we live in a different age now. I mean, especially the fact that we're doing this, the fact that we're doing this in cyberspace.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless. You can be whatever you want to be in this life at this point in time.
Oh yeah,
really. Like it's a lot of it. That's why Maya, the be a possibility is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can't see it, you can't be it.
No.
And we've had more. That's right. We've had more scholarly black women on this show than I've ever seen anywhere. and what they're doing is they're proving that they are not comfortable being a product of the tropes and stereotypes that have been put before them for many years. They are all bucking the system and deciding, you can't keep me down. I can go as far as my spirit, my ambition, and my intellect will take me.
Yeah.
You
notice he wanted to say mind, but he left it out because he knows that it's a spirit that's going to take him there.
Watching me with that Hawkeye now.
I have a tangential question from what you just said. Why is ambition considered to be a negative thing, especially, I think it gets stereotyped as negative in women, and it gets stereotyped as negative in black people. It gets stereotyped and negative in anybody who's not the white status quo. Why is ambition considered to be a negative thing?
I see Gabriel already rocking back and forth. You can go
ahead. Go ahead, Gabriel.
Well, it depends that it's coming from the powers that be to tell you that to keep you in your place. That's the first thing. We can call ambition a form of ego self-love. But what Mike's talking about is these women have so much self-love that whatever you tell me I can't do, I can do. So ambition is used, it almost makes me sound like I'm racist because we know who's running the planet. It's not my skin color, And so the people that run it compartmentalize with a negative spiritual connection, and they make these things look bad. That's the same thing I just said. All these young black kids, they tell themselves they can't be president, or they can't do this. It's the same thing as ambition, but pushed in the negative way.
You're
See what I'm saying?
right. The same way they vilify.
There you go.
What do they call it? Higher education.
Yes.
Black people, for some reason, if you study hard, I mean, the stigma is that, oh, white, you trying to be white?
Oh, you're trying to be, well, there you go.
You trying to be, as that thing. I don't know where we learned that from. Probably from the same source you're speaking of, Gabriel.
Oh yeah, it all comes from the same thing. That
thing that tells you, what you are or aren't supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And the bottom line is, for some reason in my mind, I just thought about that song "Stand" by Sly and the Family Stone, where he says, "Don't you know you're free? You are free."
You gonna sing it to us?
In your mind, if you want to be.
You ain't gonna sing it to us?
No, I don't want to.
Michael can sing, y'all.
Listen, I gotta bring it up again. This is the fourth time. He sent me a song and I'm listening and I'm going, so Prince did not use this dude as backgrounds and he's got all this. He was singing and I told him the last song he sent me, from all the work I've done with major artists, if you wanted to put this song out yourself, you could do it. Yeah, he's got a character voice that lives in a place that it can be heard. I mean, if Bob Dylan can do it, anybody can do it. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, you got a nice tone, bro. We don't care what you say. We just love it. So that's all there is to it.
It's all just like gristle and pig knuckles and.
Hey,
if I sing one note, I get 3.
I love singers with a voice that has character, but they can still sing. It makes it more fascinating to me because you hear their voice and you assume they can't.
It's on a different. Yeah, it's that oil. You talking about the oil, right?
I'm talking about that too, but I'm also talking about like having technical skill with a voice that doesn't stereotypically fit the technical skill.
That too.
I know you don't like her, but I love Erykah Badu. When you hear her voice, you don't think she can sing, and she can sing. I used Gabriel. You don't like Erykah Badu either?
Oh, my camera got froze. That wasn't me.
Oh, okay. I used John P. Key as an example of Michael's voice, because John P. Key's also got that raspy voice, and he's one of the best currently living singers in terms of like what he can do, as well as his choices and putting the right choice in the right place.
I know what you're saying, and there are some lesser examples of that, like Macy Gray. That's a lot of character.
Oh yeah.
She's saying something. She's getting something out there. She's she imbues the narrative with some kind of grit, some kind of, whatever that is coming out. She can connect.
It's funny because I've been promoting it a little bit on the Music Politics page. I don't know how anybody that's watching right now saw I was a judge for a singing competition, like an American Idol type singing competition the past few weeks. And it was all done on Facebook Live, just like our show is. And the other 2 judges were both vocal coaches, Grammy-winning vocal coaches, one named Rachel James and one named Sherelle Clay. And the girl that ended up winning the competition was not the technically best singer. The other people that made it to the final round were technically very, very skilled, but this girl that won was not nearly as good as them technically, but like you said, she had something to say, and she engaged with the audience. And when we were in the judges' deliberations, and I was talking with the people that are vocal coaches who do big tours and shows and things like that, they're like, we hear good singers every day. We don't care about hearing another good singer. We want something with some that can make us feel a certain way.
Yeah, you don't want somebody who's going to sound like everybody else.
I got one for you to answer, to piggyback off what he said. When I won a songwriting contest and went to Berkeley for the summer, and I had a vocal teacher, and he goes, man, all of your technique and your breathing is terrible. Everything that comes out is bad. He goes, but your voice, if I touch it, I'm going to ruin that thing that you have in there. So I believe you're wasting your time with vocal training. Whatever you're doing is working. I could change your technique. I'm not sure if that's going to ruin how you're approaching it. So that was amazing conversation I had.
I bet, man. See, and it's funny because I was thinking about going to Berkeley when I was a kid. My first big opportunity in the music business was I got to play with a guitar player named Hiram Bullock. He on the David Letterman show. He's the black dude who never wore any shoes. God rest his soul. He's gone. He died a few years ago.
Yeah.
But that was my first time on a plane. I went to New York. Turbulence hit, and Ricky Peterson saw me start to freak out. He's like, "Hey, be cool, man. That's just turbulence, brother." Really? What's that?
It seems like sometimes the plane's going to go down.
Exactly. I was 17. I'd never been on a plane before. Ricky kept me calm. We got to the gig. We did the gig, and I had mentioned to Hiram. I said, like the second night, I said something about like I've been thinking about going to Berkeley after I get out of high school. And he went, "Yeah, that's for some people, but not you."
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, you already, like, you know what you need to know now.
Yeah.
You don't need to go there. Some people need to go, but you already know who you are, is basically what he told me. So I get that. Sometimes, it's better off to rake and scrape and go your own direction just for the sake of coming out of it uniquely you. Nobody else has got what you got. And often in an academic environment, they're going to point you towards the lesson, whether it's really going to help you specifically or not.
That's funny because in one of the chord structure classes, I would always, because I don't know if it's because I'm dyslexic or because I hear different, but I would come up with chords and we would have to evaluate each other's chords. And then the kids would say, well, theoretically on paper, it's not supposed to sound like it sounds when I hear it, but when I play it, whatever he's doing sounds good. Mm-hmm. So I would always get, hey, whatever you're doing is none of it's right, but for some reason it sounds good.
Yeah, the unlearning would have been your detriment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang on to that perspective that you talked about the vocal coach, because not every vocal coach would have the maturity or the connection to say that, to give you that advice.
The presence of mind, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
He told me I can get fired for telling you this, so I don't know how you're going to take it.
Yeah.
He said, your voice is there. It's doing the right thing. I mean, it sounds right.
Yeah, you should hear Gabriel when he's just cutting up, man. This dude is so bad.
Cut it out now.
He's mad.
You know what's funny is that I suffer a little bit. I just got a ping. This is how self-love works. So how, and I'm closing my eyes because I'm listening to it. So how Dan is when he gets around Mike and Sonny is how I am when I sing alone. And I was made to understand that through Mike. He goes, an artist we're working with, Winter Jones, he said, when he's singing, he's so used to, it sounds like he's singing for someone else. So Mike made me aware, like, you're not really using your voice, but you do everything else, but your voice is. So I've been where that thought is in you. And I'm like, wow, I think he's right. I think a part of me I've kept hidden. Why am I doing that?
Yeah. I don't know, man. Because once we started, really moving into it.
Oh yeah.
Like your range seems limitless.
Yeah, he kept going. One song, he kept going. It was Dyslexic Mind, and I hit my piano. He goes, "Yeah, keep going, keep going." Well, you can sing it wherever you want if you like.
Yeah, I really. There's a handful of singers like that in the world. Chaka Khan is another one. She don't care how high you go or how low. You don't care. Ricky Minor was saying, like, Chaka, it's like you don't have to do any guesswork with her. Yeah. She don't care. She'll sing it in any key. She will figure out a way to, put that thing on it,
And when your instrument is self-love and you can hear, so I learned about myself through Mike, something I wasn't even aware of. For him to tell me that now all of my music that I do for myself, I'm in keys, and when I sing it, it's like, wow, it doesn't even sound like I'm trying. I know it sounds kind of cocky, but he's helped me bring out the whole fullness of my voice. Same thing when you're going to play with them with your guitar, your instrument, and I'm listening to it. Wow, like at least I had enough self-love to humble myself and listen to that and become more of who I should be. It's amazing when you're there in God's presence, everything opens up.
And Dan, when you're around me and Sonny, God is definitely present. You have permission to go to the depth of your soul and bring it out, brother. That's what you're there for. We're looking for a contribution in the natural, in the supernatural. Don't ever feel any kind of anxiety or weirdness around us. I mean, you can, be a respecter of persons with those other people, but it's deeper than that with us.
Well, I mean, and I don't want to spend too much time harping on this, but I do think, and again, trying to avoid getting too personal, but I think, I mean, after this spring, I definitely don't feel like my relationship with you is the same. You know what I mean? You're one of the people that brought me back from death. So even in a musical context, I'm never going to look at you the same, you know? And, you know, Sonny, it remains to be seen, but, you know, it's definitely, like I said,
did you say Sonny?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, no, yeah, yes. It's you haven't had enough time around Sonny to really develop, you know.
I hear what you guys are saying. So as I've talked to Sonny, like really, you don't need to be around him enough, Dan. All you need to do is be yourself. He's going to hear you. That's the reason why he made me sing. You ain't getting up on the stage with me and Mike if it's something coming out that ain't good. I don't care who you are. I don't care who sent for you. So remove that thought and realize that you're there as you're in the moment because of who you are. There's nothing else to think of. There's nothing he can do or say that's going to stop you from being you. Only you're going to do that. So you'll be in the moment as much as you believe in yourself. Remove him from it. He doesn't count. And this is the thing, is that this is what God gives us. We're all the same, bro. You know, we all have different gifts. We all can help each other, but we are all the same. So your expression and your energy, that's all. I promise you, that's all Sonny's looking for. And if that's powerful, you could play polka music. If that stuff was good, he would hear you. I promise you.
I was on a gig where Sonny played a polka for the first time. It was crazy. He's like, "What is this?" He was looking at the guitar player. Sonny, it's like a do. He was playing it, but he was looking at. It was Billy Franzi. We were on a gig.
Oh,
somebody could roll out the barrel. And so, what am I supposed to play on this? I said, "This oompa oompa." And Billy looked like, "Yeah, Sonny, that's what you do." And Sonny was looking like, "Man, what is this music? This strange music from another galaxy. It's called polka music, Sonny." That gig was crazy. I'll tell you another time. We had to do this gig. Well, not had to, but we did a gig over in St. Paul at the Fitzgerald Theater. And you know, some of the songs were not stuff that I would normally want to be playing, but you know, it's a woman came on and we had to learn Me and Bobby McGee.
Okay.
Right? And it's a simple song, but you know, I can take or leave Janis Joplin, really, to be honest. So I never really listen to her music. That was she a little too wild for me. Like a lot of wild and not enough refinement. and Sonny had listened to it. He was like, "Okay, I get the structure and everything. I mean, I don't really." It's like they coming from a different place. Man, that was the funkiest version of Me and Bobby McGee I ever heard in my life. Sonny just played it like he was Willie Weeks to somebody.
And that's all it takes.
He was walking the dog, and I was cracking up, and the singer was looking back like, "Hey, all right." Man, it's just Sonny is when he's pushed into a situation like that, something in him opens wide and says, "Okay, I'm going to surrender to the process." He just has that thing. I don't know what it is, but he's not afraid to make a sound. Sound is that is something that he will never be. There's no equivocation over it. He's going to make a sound. It's going to happen.
And the key there is not afraid. You know, hey, I might not be the greatest bass player, greatest drummer, but my power is I'm not afraid, and ain't nobody gonna outwork me. So I don't care who you are. You could have Grammys, you don't have Grammys.
Sure.
You're not outworking me. You can play that instrument all day long, but when it's over, I will catch you.
Well, and again, I knew somebody else like that. Prince. Not a lazy bone in his body.
Yeah.
Every day he was pressing for something. He was continually on the search.
Yep.
Whether it be in the mastery of his instrument, in his lyricism, or in how far he was trying to take his songwriting.
Yeah.
That is a person who never slept. The process was going on constantly. We'd be in rehearsal, he'd be in the studio sometimes. He'd stop working on what he was working on to come in there and, you know, and kick it with us
Right.
and figure out where the arrangements were, how the arrangements were going. And, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You want some pointers and go back to the studio for the rest of the night.
When I came here, Kirk is who I started with, which is Right Here Man, and he was like, "Well, you all got that same thing. Y'all don't sleep. You keep moving. You know." I go, "What do you mean?" Well, you're solid at everything. You're not great at everything, but your greatness is in how hard. No one's gonna stop you. You're out working everybody.
And that's what it takes. I was just telling somebody this today. I was talking to Young Rye. Like, that's for many years. I couldn't understand why parents would come to me. They don't anymore. Well, I mean, there's nowhere for them to find me lately, but come at me and say, I'm really interested in getting my kid involved in music. And it took me years to figure out the correct response. And the correct response really was, you don't have to encourage your kid to do nothing. If they're into music, it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's going to roll out. You don't force some kid into music, because then they'll hate the process.
Yep.
But when the music sounds, when the chime happens, if they're listening for it, they have no choice.
Yep.
They got to go. I don't feel like I even had a say.
Oh, it's the red shoe. It's the red shoe. What's that nursery? The girl with the red shoe, she couldn't take it off?
Yeah, it's as much a blessing as it is a curse.
Oh, yeah.
Once you've committed to the reality that this is my life, then you got to take everything that comes with it. And it ain't for everybody. Sleeping on a moving bus for 8 hours, 12 hours a night, that ain't for everybody. Waking up with your neck sore, you still got to go on stage. Flu, pneumonia, the show must go on.
Oh, yeah.
You can't call in, because if you've been cast in that role, your sound is the only sound anybody's listening for.
Yep.
And if you don't show up to make it, that's.
I remember I remember being in Quad Studios when writing for certain people in New York. I would go through 3 engineers a night. Give me the next one. Do you sleep, man? I go, I'll figure it out. I'll figure that out later. I used to 3 or 4 people a night, a day, a week. And it's almost scary sometimes, like, oh my goodness, can I stop?
I've been there. I don't run and gun like that. I get up earlier now.
Yeah.
Because I'm 51. I need rest. I need time for my mind to quiet. I need to watch a little Andy Griffith and Deep on. But it's that thing. I'm just really rediscovering that now. Ever since that song, Gabriel, it's like now I wake up and I'm like,
yeah, you're tapped in now.
The chase is on. I can't. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and just. My wife caught me earlier this morning. I was just writing a note to myself. A lyric came through my head. I never used to do that. For years, I'd look at these songwriters who kept, they'd write stuff on the back of receipts and slip and fortune cookies and whatnot. I'm like, this is crazy. What kind of process is that? You
can't even stop it.
I get it now. Yeah, Paul Westerberg, and we on the tour bus. We were back in the back cabin talking, and Jim Boquist made some joke about something, and we all laughed. Paul scribbled some words down. I kept looking. He kept writing down little, just jotting little notes to himself. I said, "What do you?" And the other two, Kevin Bowe and Jim, went back to the front of the cabin. I was getting up to leave, and I was like, "I got to ask him, what are you writing down there?" He's like, "Oh, well, sometimes people will say stuff, and I'll hear something beyond just what they're saying. I'll hear something else, he was just always listening for it." Yeah. And people think of Paul Westerberg and where he came from, and they don't realize that songwriting is serious business. It's no matter who's doing it. If you're doing it, you trying to say something. You trying to make a statement in the universe that everybody can get to, and that process is not. I mean, it goes on. Phil Solem, one of the greatest writers alive today. He is constantly playing with words. Even when you're talking to him, he's listening to you in a way that very few people can. I
understand that. Yeah.
Or the rhythm of your language and how you put things, and then he'll spit them back to you in a different kind of way. He'll use your words, but he'll just kind of splay them out differently. And you go, wow.
I do that way. I do that when I look at a person. Like I can look at a person and get a song from them. I don't know what that is. Sometimes when it gets really bad and you get really deep in that, you'll be working on one song and then have two more come in and you got to have so much control. Oh, please don't do that yet. Like leave me alone. Let me finish where I've started. But
yeah, that's when you're really in it. But the other thing I've learned is that the hard times come for everybody.
Oh yeah, Phil Collins a master at that.
Prince's hairdresser talked about how he'd be working on lyrics while he had a hot comb and she's pressing his hair on a curling iron, and he'd be working on lyrics, and sometimes he'd get up and just start cussing and stomping up and down. He'd get mad, and she'd have to take all the hot comb and the curling iron away, back him away from Prince. He's like, oh, I can't burn Prince. That'll be my job for show. But
Dan, what are you doing over there, Dan? I see you doing something.
Oh, somebody was texting me to ask me when we were going to talk about the big news from today, and I was just letting them know that.
Not focused on what we're talking about now.
I was listening. You were telling the story about not burning Prince with the hot comb.
Get off the stage.
All right, we're going to address this now, and it's a short conversation. What we talking about? Biden picking Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
How was that good news?
Oh, Lord.
I'll throw her under the bus. It was Dr. Nikki who wanted to know when we were going to get to that.
How is it? Okay.
I got love for Dr. Nikki, so I take that back. I'm sorry, Gabriel. I know you don't care, so let us just have this discourse right now.
Give it to me.
Okay. And I'm just speaking to Dan because I know you don't care. Politics, that kind of politics, I don't believe G. Illish has any use for. But I'll say this. My pick would have been Susan Rice because she's hot fire. But as we were speaking about this earlier, Dan, being the first is problematic enough. But being first and black, now you got problems. I mean, Kamala, she'll do, but that before you sent that note, I was thinking, okay, well, the Trump team is going to have a heyday with her because she's been as much an enemy to her own people as he's been.
As much, Michael, as much.
Well, she's incarcerated several. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know who Trump has put in jail. He's got a lot of his friends out of jail.
Yeah, Trump's not worried about that. Trump's worried about killing people is what he's worrying about.
Well,
all right.
Don't get me started.
It's equivalent because I'm not so familiar with the nuances of her record. Maybe I'm grandstanding a little bit, but I understand. She in many ways is the most neutral choice. Like I get that.
So here's my thing, and I don't remember if I said this to you, Michael, earlier or not. I'm cool with her being the neutral choice. She wasn't my choice, but I get Biden's a moderate. He wanted to pick a black woman that's also a moderate, and she's the key for that. But first of all, is Biden going to serve 2 terms? And if he is, you want a VP. Let's assuming he's even elected in the first place. But assuming he's elected, assuming he serves 2 terms, you still want a VP that's good to run and win following that. And if he only serves 1 term, then you want a VP that's good to take over. I don't see her as presidential.
Anybody can be presidential. I mean, after the example that has been set.
That's true.
Come on now, man. How can you say that? What is presidential even? Take that back, Dan Spiffy Neuman.
I take it back. I just don't see her as somebody that there's so many more engaging candidates. But I think she'll be fine. I don't think she'll be terrible. I don't think she'll be, I think she'll do a decent job, and there's honestly not.
Us all. She may be the picture of progress. We don't know yet. And I'm going to give her the latitude to develop, and maybe, pray for her instead of trying to dismantle her chances.
Yeah. I'm going to get behind her fully. Everybody that everybody that I know that has dealt with her in California says she's kind of an empty suit or empty pantsuit.
Yeah,
You know,
she will morph into the role to a certain degree, but as long as she keeps the black part of her with that head moving, like when she was talking to Joe Biden and her hair was bouncing in that debate, you know, as long as she stays in touch with that side, you know, she'll be able to bring the heat when she has to. I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic about a lot of things these days, you know, but this. I want to believe that we're gonna have a little progress, but if we don't have it, I won't be surprised either.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta hope for better. I gotta put myself in a more positive headspace, you know, and start looking for things to get better. Because it's easy to look for things to get way worse.
Yeah, it's
Gabriel, you want to say about it? Or you
you don't want me to talk about politics because the whole room will be on fire.
All right. Well, let's move on to something a little more important and timely, which is what has been going on with the native people of this country.
Okay. Well, I guess I got to talk about politics.
Got 8 minutes. I need you to give us your information. First, you're qualified on this panel.
First of all, there's no such thing as Thanksgiving. That's a made-up day. It's a day of mourning for us. There's no such thing as Columbus Day. That would be the equivalent of Germany having a day called Hitler Day. There are 600 tribes extinct. Some of us aren't even recognized. I live in Boston where they're trying to take the land of the Wampanoag and Mashpee. If they do that, they take everybody's land. Oh. They're trying to cut corners to not honor treaties. They still take kids from certain tribes and put them into foster homes. But since we're here on this politics thing, I hear all this stuff, but not one thing has ever been done that's ever changed anything. Yes, we've been able to sit in front of the bus. We've been able to do this. And here we are today in 1920 watching some dude get a knee in the neck. And like and Democrats and they all work together. If people are paying attention to what's happening in this world, especially as an indigenous person, you will see that when they're done, someone else will come in and it will never change. So here, where it really comes down to what you believe. If you believe in God, then all this other stuff is make-believe. Anything that happens is by design. Half of these people that are elected are they're chosen before they get there. But then again, it really matters what you know. Being in the music business, I have friends that have been sacrificed to higher things. That's all I'm going to say. And things have happened. So someone asked me, you don't vote? So I should vote for what? Mm-hmm. Every day I wake up, I turn the TV on. It's the Cleveland Indians. It's the Washington Redskins. It's the Atlanta Braves. If you all really was going to make a change, then make a change with the simple things. Don't tell me all this great stuff you're going to do. Well, get the spoke right. Get the little wheel, get the spokes right first, and then it will happen. So an indigenous person, we got a problem with politics. And anybody else who believes in change, if you're looking hard enough, you will see that nothing's really changed. It's just a game. The name has changed. It's called something different. We're in 22, and you watch someone else is going to be hurt, and we'll be here again, and some politician will be saying, well, hey, I'm going to make this change. No, you're not. If that was the case, if that was the case, there'd be no such thing as God then. Like, people, it's amazing how negativity actually has people believing that politics can change stuff.
You just
So what I'm going to take? I'm going to take the Washington Redskins thing. Okay.
All right, yeah, break it down.
All right. So here's what we got. One person likes that team, but they don't like the name, but they're native. Right there, what you're basically telling me is that if I had a friend that was black, he had a white friend, but called all the white people's names, and those white people knew that he had a white friend, and said, so is that your friend? He goes, yeah, but I don't listen to that other stuff he does. So right there, God is not even present. You are basically a part of the problem that people are trying to fix. I've been in protests. I've been to D.C. In 1980. I sat there and change this and change that. We could go back to Marlon Brandon, who won a Grammy, and they can look it up if they want. He won a Grammy. He didn't get up on stage. He put a Shawnee woman on stage to talk about the treatment to Native people. We have the highest rate of suicide, alcohol abuse, abortion, you name it. So now we're going to talk about politics. Only politics we're talking about is the one that's on TV. We're not talking about real stuff. A couple of weeks ago, they wanted to march through the Black Hills. Did they show that on TV? No, they didn't. They kept talking about old stuff. So we're all being lied to. And until everybody gets together, like that lady did that got on that bus and made a change, we're going to sit here and talk and take and drink the, what do they call it? The lemon, the Kool-Aid. Yeah. There's no such thing as politics. And if anybody wants to find out, hey, they can talk to me and come to me, and I will prove it. So I know people want to believe, hey, this is great. There's a black lady. Why? Forget that she's black. It's woman first. Like that's hard for all women.
Well,
so with that said, now my godmother's black. And so I know the struggle, but if we're really looking at it, what does it really mean? I mean, we're in 2020, and we all know what happened to Dan, and we all know what happened to this dude. And then nobody knows what happened to people at the Black Hills. People do not really know what's going on. You are fed things so that the real things, the real agenda can take a place. We can go theory conspiracy now. There's a book out. I won't mention any names because then I get in trouble, but it's 30 years ago. If they want to get the book, I'll give it to Mike. Mike can give him the screenshot. The actual doctor, the Chinese doctor, I'm not going to say his name, who told us about this was already written about. And so wasn't the disease, and his name is in the book. In fact, when Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, passed, there was already 9 cases of this thing. That's interesting. So we all forgot about the 9 cases and paid attention to negativity. And then it exploded. And then when it wasn't going to work the way it was, hey, well, let's go to one of the most racist states in America and create some more stuff. We can get all these people together and then they can just pass it everywhere else. We'll blame it on something else. I mean, it can get deep. I can go where people say I'm crazy. But I can prove everything I'm saying.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to argue with you about voting, but I'll accept your premise. Besides that, what can we do? Like, especially when you talk about all the issues that Native people are still facing, and it doesn't even make the news cycle, because I believe there's still things going on at Standing Rock too, right? and we don't hear about it. And so what is it that we can do both to be more aware, but then also to take action,
Okay. Well, the first thing is the one thing you didn't want to talk about. We got to get to voting. So we're in this make-believe name called America. It wasn't called that before somebody got here. There weren't even measles, chickenpox, and mumps. None of that stuff before somebody got here and brought it. What can be done is understanding in your own front yard with paying attention. If you have a team called the Washington Redskins, don't believe for a second anything's going to change. If it does change in pockets of neighborhoods just for a little bit, guess what happens? And you can look it all up. It goes right back to there. There's just a different type of that. We're not going to control black people this way now. We're going to give them this. We're going to give the natives that. But wait a second. We can go a whole different route. We can still keep them where we want them. This is by design, and I hate to say it to people, but this is, if you believe in scripture, this is what happens. So if you want to start off and really make a difference, you got to talk about the very things that are in front of your face. How come I don't live in Michael's neighborhood? How many black people live in your neighborhood, Mike?
I think there's some retired Vikings up the way. I mean, there's a few, but it's not like I don't know anybody in this
What's the ratio? Is there more white people? You see more white people than black people?
My wife is nodding her head saying, yeah.
Okay, bingo. That's it. If you're aware of what I'm saying, that's enough. Mm-hmm. So we shouldn't have to say that there's more white people living in one neighborhood. Everybody should be everywhere. We shouldn't have. You don't have no team called the Boston Rednecks. I don't know, a white guy with no teeth and overall and a rake in his mouth or a rake in his hand. You know, you don't have a team called the Atlanta Buckwheats, but they find different ways to mess with those people.
Yeah,
it is all the same, and mm-hmm. Voting is a game. If it was going to be different, then it would be the same thing how you got healed. That's you being healed and coming out. That's real. You're witnessing a game that somebody's playing, and we're in the middle of it, and we're getting SH'd on.
You can cuss on this show.
Yeah, it's something I gave up. I learned it it's for me. It's a form of control. It's not needed for me, and I don't want people to think, oh, I'm all militant and stuff. No, I'm a big clown. In fact, one of the first conversations, I had Mike thinking I was a girl on the phone. I fooled him and Sonny. I'm a real big clown. But this voting thing is, if you look at all the patterns of life, look at some of the food we're eating. All the stuff that's. I have a friend. Her name's Yahira. She had bad things on her body, and all I did was help her change her food, and that was it. She's the one who taught me about all these different chemicals and stuff. If they're doing it to the food, they're going to do it where you live. If you think you're actually voting for something, you're not, man. You tell me when something's really changed. Don't give me little increments of change. Give me big stuff. Like, I mean, real serious change. Like, okay, yeah, there's the same amount of black people that white people that live in Mike's place. There's the same amount of black people that own professional teams as white people. Can we say that? No. I mean, what's wrong with everybody?
I've been where you at.
I'm sorry, but that's a fact. Uh-huh. And until we get into those 1,000 years of when everything looks good, then that's when it will change. I mean, it's hard, man. I feel where you're coming from, Dan. Though.
Yeah, I mean, we try to, we make an effort to not leave people completely hopeless when they come to this show.
But I haven't. But the point is, in order to recover from someone, you have to see what you're recovering from.
Well, if I'm wake up.
Yeah, if I'm doing music with Mike and Sonny and I keep playing in a different key, at some point they're going to say, yeah, we can't mess with you anymore. That's my wake up. So it's the mind that creates that negativity. If we looked at everything in the Bible, we would say, wow, there's some stuff that God was doing. And it was different than what we're saying now. So this isn't negative. This is the road to self-love, to say if everybody is aware of how the planet's being used and abused and how things are run, then we can make the change. You can't just pat someone on the back anymore. Yeah, here's your lunchbox, and go on about your way, and hopefully nothing will happen to you before you get home.
Yeah, and that's all the demonstrative things that corporate America has been trying to do.
Yes, Diane.
To say, we recognize we're in a new day, and that that the youth of today are not thinking the same way that we did, so on and so forth. And Aunt Jemima, we're going
to get rid of that name too.
We're gonna what? All these little ways.
Right, you're doing it. You're doing black people a favor now because you want to get rid of it now. Why?
And
get rid of it back then.
It was wrong when you first
thank you. Thank you.
So I feel you, Gabriel. We vibe on the same.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, but I was gonna say, I don't remember where I was, but this preacher said some of y'all out there talking about saving souls and and delivering people, you don't even have dominion over a sink full of dirty dishes. Like, it's really in the details. Like, if you go exercise spirits one day,
Diane said it.
The baby steps first, but be thorough.
She said it. She said, He's saying, get off your behind and be the change. Like, I don't want to baby people and go, oh, I have to leave you with some good news. Like, show me the good news on the street and then I'll leave you with some. I don't want, and someone will say, well, hey, we've got a little change here. We got a little change there. No, it's that even shouldn't be allowed. It should be what it is, and that means everybody should be able to be treated the same. Women should be able to run their own places. They shouldn't have to be looked at how people look at it. It's ridiculous. And the only reason men try to control women is because they don't have the power that they have. And it's in the Bible. They do not. I'll give you this last thing, and then you tell me what you're going to say. So I gave a clinic. I had 5 women in the room, and I said, hey, tell me about you guys. How do you feel about being a female? And so, well, we can't run our own business. We can't have a sexual mind to do all these things. Well, why? Where do you think that came from? Well, man, I go, yeah, because they are not the incubus to creation. They have to control things. You guys are the beginning of life on this planet. And in fact, they teach it in the Bible. Well, there's Mary Magdalene, right? So they taught that and people, please look this up for yourself. Please do not believe me. So they teach in that Bible that she's what they say she is. Now, in the southern part of France, the Merovingians, kings and queens, they have Christian churches with her likeness in it. And she's a prophet, and they're a scroll. So I don't know if politics is real. Why is it that on this part of the world that they teach women are that equal, but over here we teach that they're not? I don't know. Has someone taken a few books and translated the Bible wrong? We're not talking about God now. We're talking about religion and control through religion. So it's the same thing that's going to happen in the government. It's the same thing that's going to happen in music. It's the same thing that's going to happen in food. It's the same thing walking down the street in the wrong neighborhood. Period. And the only way, Dan, the only way you can, I don't want you to not say anything because of my conviction. I want you to be able to tell me something because you know it's true. Not from your mind, but from your spirit. And that's it.
That was your cue.
Oh, I'm sorry, because I have a question that's taking us back a little bit.
Okay,
and I was waiting to make sure Michael didn't have anything to say before I shifted.
I'm not going to interrupt Professor Illish when he's
okay. So I just wanted to circle back a little bit to where when we were talking about, you were talking about Black Hills and Standing Rock and everything like that.
Yeah.
So what is a source of information of what's going on, the atrocities that are still happening to this day to Native people, like that we can say, it's not being reported by the major news sources, but go to this website? Or is there a place that we can look for information to not be in the dark about what's happening?
Only if you're Native. So meaning I posted that there was my friend who's also indigenous. He posted that whole thing when I guess Trump was going into, is it North Dakota he was headed or wherever he was headed? Yeah. And he posted it. So you're only going to learn it from natives. So if you want, get online, find some native movements. We are always looking for help.
Hey, Gabriel?
Yes.
Unicorn Riot?
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay.
But what you really want to do is find things run by indigenous people, or you can call them. If you want to help them, you call up, say, hey, how can we help? But the CNN is run by somebody who runs everything else. You are not going to get the truth unless it's obvious. So, God, what happened in Minnesota, there's no way to dispute that, because you and I both know if that didn't have a chance to be on the news, that had never made it.
But listen, they tried to duck it.
They did.
But look at how powerful God was.
Yeah, somebody was there with a camera.
Thank you.
Because they knew that the Minneapolis Police Department was going to lie about it.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I didn't even know Minnesota was that bad. Mike had to school me. Your eyes. I get you. Mike said, "What are you talking about? You don't think it's bad, dude?"
That always hurts Dan's feelings for some reason.
But dude, me,
I'm hurt when I called Minnesota and Wisconsin out. We're number 1 and number 2, Dan. I mean,
he went off. He went off.
Milwaukee is the most segregated city in the entire country.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And I had to tell people, like, I lived in Minnesota. I lived right next to Paisley Park. And I don't know, was it because I'm Native and there's less of us alive that I was treated different? But Mike schooled me. He was, "Are you crazy, man? This is the worst place." I'm like, really? So I had to learn, like you had to learn, like, wow, like I thought down south was bad, but politics is a joke. This should have been a black woman who's been president a long time ago. It's like I'm not taking this pat on the back stuff now. It ain't happening.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
That's all. It's just to keep us quiet. It's keep people quiet.
I agree that it's been. I believe the word is pejorative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This should have been a woman running this thing a long time. You know why? Because in upstate New York, the Six Nations, they don't teach you this in school because if you knew, women would be treated different. In the Six Nations, those women are the chiefs. They run the tribe. The dudes just be hunting. Do you think they're going to teach that in school? Do you imagine how many powerful women there'd be? Oh my goodness. We have women running everything. Oh no, we can't let women know that. I mean, they already have the power of creation. We can't give them that. So there's so many different ways we can go into even music is just as bad as what I'm talking about. People get died, people get sacrificed. John Todd. If you want people want to look up something, check that out. I can get deep. I get deep about the person that when Mike wants to tell you off camera, he can talk to you. I've had to help a few people that have been in that band to let them know, hey man, whatever that is, the moment was meant for you to be there. Live it, go through it, resolve it, and move on. It's deep. Everything is deep, and it's run by the same thing that runs politics. It runs by all the people that pump all this stuff in our food. When you go to the biggest drug selling people in the world is medicine. Come on. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wake up. They give you shots and they may help you with one thing. Then you get two other things. You know why? Because they want you codependent and spend all your money. I knew one lady that had to become a vegan. She spent $1,000 a week. She was 40 years old. The hair was ratty and everything. They got her off. They got her being a vegan. Her skin tone changed. Her hair was different. She wasn't wasting money. Can you imagine how bad this world would be if everybody figured out how to take care of themselves? There'd be no control. And so politics is a part of it, man.
I'll take that.
I'm sorry.
You got nothing to apologize for, man.
I've talked to Jesuit priests, monks. I've had all types of people come to my clinics. And in fact, I was called a terrorist at one point in a clinic because I was self-empowering people. I'm a terrorist because I'm telling people how to take care of themselves herbally, how to think from your soul instead of letting this part rot you and make you believe. Whatever you think, you will be. If you think you can't be in a room with somebody, you won't be in that room. You'll make a mistake. If you believe that you can be in that room, even if you make a mistake, you're still a part of it because you've left your ego out the door. And you will become better because of it. It's all connected.
All right, I think Dan's.
What you got, Dan? What you got, Dan?
You mentioned South Dakota a little bit ago, and I was wondering. I know we're out of time, but I was wondering if you had any thoughts on. Apparently, Trump and the governor of South Dakota are conspiring to add Trump to Mount Rushmore.
Well, that would make sense because Lincoln was the biggest assassin to Native American culture. But we're taught that that's wrong. That would make sense because all four of them dudes were bad. They were the biggest assassins to us on the planet. So why not put another one up there? Do you understand how? Go ahead.
I was going to say, for people who might not know, can you talk a little bit about the history of what became Mount Rushmore before it was Mount Rushmore?
Okay, so that is Native American burial ground. It's sacred ground to those people. And somebody came along and said, we're going to build our little toys and our statue. We can go back even further. In Canada, there was a golf course that Europeans wanted another hole built on. You can find it online. And the natives got there and said, no, you can't come here and build a golf course on burial ground. They moved the army in. So yes, that was burial ground. The natives were told they can't be there, and even if it's sacred to them. So it makes perfect sense to me that why they'd want to put Trump up there, because if I concentrate on the idea, this is how powerful evil works. If I concentrate on the idea that Trump will be there, I'm going to get angry. not realizing that it's a double negative. It's one evil on top of the next. Realizing they've already put evil there. They're gonna put another one. Okay, there you go. But I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote when Trump's gonna be a jackass.
See, you're not gonna get with me on the not voting. I'm not gonna get with you there. I'll get with you on the rest of it, but I'm not. Right. I still see it as Go ahead, Gabriel.
Here's self-love. Until you're completely black, until you're completely native, you will think that way. So I'm going to offer to you, find self-love and leave the thought of what you think is right, and become the opposite. You lived on a reservation. You know what I'm talking about. But we're going to say that voting changed. Okay, let's look at this. If you have children in your house, there's no vote on you stealing something. You don't do it. If you do it, you pay the price. So if voting is real, we shouldn't have to keep asking for the same thing over and over. So now ask yourself, why is that? Do you believe in God? There's your answer. So you can believe in voting all you want. That, you know what that is? That's like a rocking chair. That's giving you something to do but leads you nowhere. It ain't gonna change, bro, until you change it. Give me one thing. Give me one thing about. Give me something that voting has changed. I don't want little things. I want something major.
Well, I have health care that I might not have had if it weren't for the Affordable Care Act.
Do Native Americans have it?
Some. I'm sure not all.
You think some have it?
Yes.
Okay, so do you? And they also believe that we get money free. We have the highest rate of diabetes, bro. Those things I sent for a reason. You will hear them girls and those people talk about, we don't have health care. I don't know. I don't know what you're getting at from. The only thing that I've liked about Minnesota is when I worked at Shakopee, that the elders called that place a community, and I'm like, wow, that's the first thing to change. Because a reservation to an indigenous person, we don't want to live there. That's an outdoor jail. That's a concentration camp. So you need to, for you and for me, for self-love to you, you got to get whatever is in your head out and look at it from your soul. I'm glad that you have health care. I want you to be alive. But I want Chinese people to be alive. I want Spanish people to be alive. I don't want to watch TV and see in a Brazilian jungle that a kid can't go down the street without getting diphtheria, that they're living in the same structure that they lived in when a hurricane came. We can go to New Orleans, it's still a mess.
Well,
like if when I studied the stuff I was telling you about, when I go into a room, Dan, there's no in between. I'm either going to change this or I'm not. If I'm thinking something different than that, it will never change. So it's great that you have that. It's great that some people have that. Why doesn't everybody have it? We should all make enough money on this planet to do this. In fact, we can go to Nikola Tesla. The dude created free energy. Do you think they wanted that to happen? Can you imagine if we all have free energy? They monopolized that dude, put him in a room, took all of his stuff, and now we're paying for electricity. It's a simple thing, bro, and it's hard to get to. But the better your guitar playing gets, the more you'll understand what I'm saying. The better Mike's drumming gets, the more he'll understand. The better my singing gets, the more I'll understand. You're trying to rationalize this stuff, and we can if we do what you do. If we compartmentalize. Well, yeah, this is great. This person, it's a change. I don't want that change. It shouldn't be. It should be for everybody. It should just be over with. Period. That's it. So if it's not over with, what's in the middle of that? Who is running it? There you go. By design. By design, you have it. By design, someone else doesn't have it. Somebody's running this thing, and it's not God.
Amen.
What you got, Dan? What you got, brother?
I mean, so I agree with everything that you're saying as far as we don't need small incremental change. We need big change. And until that happens, the small incremental change looks, and in many cases is, insignificant. But
well, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Go ahead, Michael. No, go ahead, Michael.
when people talk about choice, they say only 2 or 3 choices is really choice. One or the other is not choice, right? I'm not sure exactly. I'm speaking from somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what I'm trying to get across. But these little
you got it. Keep on. I feel it. Keep going.
these little gestures that whether or not Starbucks lets its employees wear Black Lives Matter paraphernalia is it really is in the larger scope of things infinitesimal because it's pejorative to begin with. I don't know why, what the differential was on like the LGBTQ, stuff they let you wear during like gay pride and whatnot. That's all cool and everything. But I mean, the thing is that what does that really do for Starbucks? First off, they're already caught. Now they're going to walk it back and say, well, no, really, well, actually, we didn't mean it. They've already expressed their true feelings about the situation. Now, I would have respected them more if they just said, nobody gets to wear nothing.
There you go.
Well,
that's a larger gesture to me than saying, okay, Black Lives Matter too, then I guess.
Can I interject?
Go ahead.
All right, so let's break it down and let's break it down musically. Your change is the first verse. We got to get through the whole song. So if we only played the first verse every song, like, where's the completeness? So if I'm working with Mike and he goes, hey man, every time we get to this bridge, you disappear. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like these little things are only keeping us where we're at. They're not making any change. I love the fact that they're there, but we're pigeons. We're being fed stuff. It's like that song. If we're in that first verse and all 3 of us can only get to those first 4 bars, we can't go on. What are we going to say? Well, I have to go with this stuff. No. You want to play the whole song. You want to get through the whole thing. Such is life. God and the Creator, Mother Earth, everything is right there for you to see. And we're so blind. We can look at a tree out there and goes, hey, is that leaf green? Is it green? And it actually isn't. It reflects every other color. It's not green. There's so much here we don't know. I had a woman that was very overweight. I said, hey, listen, I'll give you $500 just to get out your house. She goes, okay. She's walking down the stairs, breathing heavy. She's close to, I don't even know how she got out the house. And so I put her in my car. I bring her into the back of the gym, and I go, see that tree there? So this is native spirituality. See that tree? She goes, yeah. You see the little branches that turned out? She goes, yeah. Can you tell me about it? She goes, you brought me all this way to look at this tree. I go, yeah. She goes, I just see a tree. So I go, well, this building is in the middle. There's a tree here, and this building is here. There's something on the other side. It's the sun. The little leaves have learned to turn out. And when the sun comes around the back, the trees don't have increments. They know this is their only chance to survive. She goes, what does that have to do with me? You've got 2 legs, 2 hands, and a voice, but you can't get out the house. Meanwhile, this tree is growing in cement and is taller than the building. So we cannot think of things in increments. You can try if you want. You're not going to get anything done, and anybody can vote all they want. And I would like voting to change, but until I see my people treated right, until I see Black people treated right, anybody else treated right, I'm not settling for these little increments, because then I'm just settling. Oh, well, we've made one change. You should be happy about it. Nah, bro, it shouldn't even be. Let us all live the same and go from there.
I hate to say it, Dan, but when Sade Smith said it shouldn't matter what judge is in the courtroom, if you could find justice in a courtroom, it wouldn't make a difference who was the representation.
Bingo.
So, I mean, we may have a lot of just agreeing to disagree on this broadcast, and that's fine.
Yeah,
we don't have to be harmonious. But we do have to speak the truth, at least from where we see it.
Right, but
Otherwise, it's fraudulent. What are we doing for if we don't tell the truth?
Here's the part of stuff.
There's nothing you can say that's going to convince Dan otherwise about voting, because it's a part of his not psychology, but part of his maybe psychological profile is to do what I can.
But now his spirit isn't, and until he fully listens to his spirit, there's always going to be another voice. I know for a fact, from what I've learned from studying God, preaching God, listening, that you can tell me all you want about how much you vote, but there'll always be that quick little feeling like something is wrong. Until you listen to that, you'll know, yeah, okay, I'm going to vote. I'm going to try to create change, but I also have to realize all this stuff is by design. So all I can do is my little part, but I have to realize nothing really is going to change until whatever's supposed to happen happens.
All right. I don't want to keep harping on the topic. I know Michael kind of already put the benediction on it. You and I can discuss this later if you want. I personally will still encourage everybody to go out and vote. And I
do and say what you feel is right, man.
Yeah.
Keep all the police where they are too. Then
that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but
okay. But you're not. But there's a lot that's not being said that you have to see. There's a chain of command.
So let me. So sorry, Michael. Let me ask you a question. So by not voting, how does that affect the police?
Okay, I'm sorry to interject, but you don't even need to ask me. Ask yourself, did it make a difference in Minnesota when all of the people of color got outside and made them police change? There was no voting there. It was, we've had enough and that's it. It was to the point where they had to bring in fake people. I mean, this is an easy read. So, and I'm not telling you not to vote. I'm not saying not to vote. I'm telling you to be aware of the game that you're in.
That now we can agree, because I agree that there's and I threw up a comment earlier to the same effect, that there's a lot of BS in our current election system. The elections are being rigged on many, many levels, and sometimes with the way the electoral college is framed, the popular vote doesn't always get the outcome. And there's a whole lot of things, but it doesn't hurt anybody to do as much as we can. And like Michael said, I'm the kind of person that's going to want to try to do everything that I can. And one of those things is to vote and to encourage other people to vote. And that's not going to take away from me being in the streets whenever I can be in the streets.
Would you let someone play your guitar for you and be you?
And be me? I mean, I let people play my guitar all the time. I don't know what you mean by
here's my guitar. You can become me for a second. Who is the best representation of you?
I mean, I'm the best representation of me, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to let somebody play my guitar.
You can't play my guitar unless I know about it first. I need to know what is happening, how you're doing it, and I learned that from Sonny. There's no absolute way. I don't care who it is, what it is. You need to be where I'm at. So voting is not going to change what you think it is. We're being fed things along the way, and people can get mad all they want. I mean, my goodness, look at Colin Kaepernick, bruh. That what, you're gonna get your job back now? You get to play football, a game. This dude stood up over a game. White people said you don't get to come back. Is voting gonna change that? Is it gonna change that one little thing that has nothing to do with anything else, but a whole nation of people tired of being in Minnesota, being in their car with their daughter in the back and the mom's driving and the dad's sitting over here. Oh, by the way, I'm carrying. Boom, 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 I'm dead. When's that gonna change?
I don't know when it's going to change, but not voting isn't going to help it change.
Okay, so after that guy, after what happened, and I always forget names because pain is pain without the name, it's the same. So when all of the people of color got together in Minnesota, that was more powerful than voting. So God is showing people, like, if you all get together, Mike told me, well, you said you were surprised you saw people getting together in another country? Can you tell me that?
Yeah, to have German people marching talking about Black Lives Matter.
And they didn't vote. Do you understand? There is a way to get this
they
done.
didn't vote.
They're not involved in our election.
And they didn't vote, but they voted in their election
system. I don't know what they might be doing.
People were standing up for us in other countries, and that's never happened. So I believe if people get together, if people become the vote, you won't need to vote because we're the voice. We need to run this country, not these people that are playing these stupid games who give us a little piece of this and a little piece of that.
But why can't we do both? Why can't I vote today and hit the streets tomorrow?
Okay, but you can do that. But as you know, tomorrow they'll be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Probably.
And tomorrow nobody really knows who Josh Gibson is unless they're really a fan of baseball, who actually beat all of Babe Ruth. He hit more home runs than Babe Ruth in New York Stadium. And he was in the Negro League with Satchel Paige. Does anybody know that? If you got to know baseball to know.
Apparently the cat knows it.
Yeah, the cat said, "Yeah, hey, I know. What are you talking about? Like you're taking up my time. I gotta sit on Mike. I gotta get in this bed. I gotta take over."
Yo, don't taking up my time. My wife made bulgogi.
And I didn't get it. I don't even get it. What is that?
Asian food. She made Asian. There's rice.
Well,
I'd eat everything.
Oh.
Well, we don't want to keep Michael from his dinner.
Yeah.
But you and I will continue this another time, Gabriel.
All right, brother.
I agree with everything you're saying except for not vote. I'm saying everything that you're saying plus vote.
All right.
And
if voting and what I'm saying can make a change, then good. But realize voting isn't making the change. It's when people get outside that the change seems to happen.
I think different changes come from both, and I think if more people did both, there would be bigger changes. Because if more people showed up to support in person and showed up at the polling booth, we would have a lot. I think first of all, our nominees would be different.
Yeah.
Because the people that supported, think of it this way: I don't know who your candidate would have been if you were voting. But a lot of people on the progressive side supported Bernie Sanders, and his numbers that showed up for him in person were way bigger than the numbers that showed up to support some of the other candidates. But those people didn't vote for him in the primary, and so he didn't get the nomination.
Yeah.
And so you have to do both. You have to show up in person, and you have to show up at the polls. I want to make sure when we close out. First of all, Gabe, we didn't ask you where can people get your music?
Yeah, come on now.
Where
they can.
Your music?
I got a YouTube channel. I have a new branding page called Illish Music. Was it 431? And they can go to my Instagram. I think you posted a lot of stuff you're on, a lot of stuff Mike is on. Me and Mike are still battling. I'm not going to forget that song, even though we talking. It is on and popping, baby.
All right.
So if you enjoyed Gabriel, aka G. Illish, not only can you follow him on social media, he's more active on Instagram, I believe, but you can also purchase his music and listen to his music on YouTube. I want to once again shout out. We have merch. Oh, somebody put your website up there.
Someone loves me already. I'm okay.
I really appreciate that.
You got one, Gabriel. You lost several.
I only need one. One pebble in the pond makes ripples, baby.
Oh boy, I seen somebody on here that was so done with you, but I ain't gonna say nothing.
Hey, they can give my phone number if they want to talk.
So
that's not a lie.
I'm leaving it alone because I saw a couple of them, and I won't say who. Michael probably saw the same ones that I saw.
Yeah, but I also saw a couple that you just kind of breezed past because it didn't really work into your narrative. That's okay, though.
Hey, whoever you are, inbox me.
So we have merch. Please get the Music Politics merch. It is available. There's a link below the video. I get vegan cookies with that? No. First of all, there's no cookies. Period. Second of all, I don't know how I feel about vegan cookies. How do you feel, Michael? Have you ever had any vegan cookies?
If I did, I wouldn't have known it.
Yeah, you gotta taste it first, man. That's like polka music. You gotta give it a shot, right?
I will.
I mean, I don't ask like, well, is it vegan? I don't have any question like that.
Yeah.
So it might have been vegan. It might have not.
That was a test for Dan.
Once again, want to shout out Maya, Be a Possibility, and you can get her merch. It's beapossibility.shop, which is a perfect segue for me to tell you about next week's guest because they were booked by Maya. He is a city councilman from Camden, New Jersey, which is the only city in the U.S., I believe, that has successfully defunded the police. And so he's going to talk about how they did it and why they did it and how it has worked and how that can be used as a model for other cities, such as Minneapolis, that are looking into defunding the police. Mm-hmm. Make sure you like and follow Musipolitics. Make sure you join the Musipolitics Facebook group. I will be back on Facebook as of Sunday. Facebook took me down, as Gabriel would say, for speaking the truth. But I'll be back. They can't keep me down for too long. Is there anything else you want to say, Gabe, before we close out? We've gone way over time, which is always a gift.
No, just anybody that's got something they want to say, come inbox me. That's all I got to say.
They may or may not, but they're definitely, if you look at the comments, you got a lot of traction. A lot of people agree, a lot of people disagree.
Well,
that's okay. Always
the best conversations are going to be polarizing.
The ones that don't agree, that stuff they got to work on. So if they want to talk, if they really believe in what they disagree, inbox me.
I don't have an IG, and yes, that's Gabriel's. That's him with the long hair. Somebody asked it.
Yes. Michael, anything? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This was a in ways a difficult discussion to have, man.
Yes.
And on some of these issues, I'm somewhere in between. It's like I believe in voting, but I believe in results. I want to see actual proof. For me to believe in the voting system, wholeheartedly and not be skeptical. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to affect my actions necessarily, but my analysis of the situation, I'm keeping my eyes open.
It's frustrating because a lot of these systems that we have to participate in, we know they're rigged, and yet we have to participate in them. And it's better than not participating
because it seems to be the only lifeline we got. And that's what I kept trying to say, is that only 2 or 3 options is choice. If you have either or, vote, don't vote, you don't have much of a choice to begin with. That's what I was trying to get across. It's the only thing you have. It's the only thing they've given us. So it is what it is. And I hate when people say that. And so I take that back. It's not what it is. And on that note,
guys, we will see you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you to our guest, Gabriel Blu, a.k.a. G. Illish. Thank you to the best co-host in the world and one of the best friends in the world, Michael Bland.
I love all of you, even the ones that disagree.
That's all you're supposed to.
That's right.
Well, hopefully,
brother.
Hopefully, we'll see you pop up in the comments next week, Gabriel, or sometime soon.
Don't be a stranger, man. You good for business. You still
I'm not done with you too.
All right,
still got work to do.
We'll continue. All right, then.
All right, Dan. Thank you for
everybody for watching. We'll see you next week.
Good night.